Rumble guys, is that better? First shot and A-dubs on my Rumble. Can you guys hear me now?
A little bit further into some of the campaign finance information as well. I think that'll be really interesting. We want to provide kind of a different look behind the scenes. Part of the reason of doing this is to show behind the scenes who's supporting these people, right? What's the difference between these candidates? Who's out there and where's that money coming from? So we're seeing some partial results coming in here. So first results came in 2 minutes ago, primarily out of Denver County, partially reported. Looking over at Broomfield County and Jackson County. Jackson County is completely reported. So some of those rural counties might come in a little bit quicker. So it'll be very interesting to see what that total turnout's going to be tonight among that entire electorate here. I'm going to zoom out just to get a little bit better grip view of what's going on. So far, there's been 84,000 ballots turned in, 3.8 million active voters here in the state of Colorado. So we'll see here. This will keep refreshing. So one of the biggest stories this year, of course, is the congressional vacancy election in Congressional District 4. Ken Buck resigned early enough where it triggered a special election. So we're going to have a new congressperson representing Weld County primarily and Douglas County and kind of that eastern swath of Colorado there for basically until next year. So Greg Lopez is the favorite candidate. Of course, a good friend of Jessica's and I's is Hannah Goodman. So we really are rooting for her tonight. So we'd love to see her get a good turnout. But early results looks like Greg Lopez has that doing pretty good there. Yeah, and totally rude. I mean, candidates like Greg Lopez. I mean, I get the strategy behind it, right? Like, you're the favorite candidate. Why expose yourself to potential attacks? Why risk your race? Really, he has little to gain, but a lot to lose by participating in a debate. Because a strong libertarian like Hannah Goodman would have challenged him and really knocked him down a peg or two, and he didn't want that.
Dude was like, he came up and he's like, "Oh, the Gallagher Amendment wasn't nothing. That wasn't nothing." And I was like, "No, that did change stuff. That changed a lot of stuff." And oh shoot, my whole screen's going crazy now. And it's all these government people who want to show up and tell you, "No, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." And I'm like, "No, it's I was right too." He was like trying to gaslight me and tell me I was completely wrong, but I was not wrong. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, well, you get all these people who are interested parties, people who are, part of the system who benefit off a lot of these laws. Let's take a look at Denver here. It looks like we got some early results coming in. So 7,200 votes counted in House District 4. That's of course everybody's favorite Hamas supporter out there, Tim Hernandez. Uh,
That's
so
promising.
yeah, interesting to see. I really think Tim Hernandez has this in the bag based on his grassroots organization, his ability to knock on doors, and just getting out there. Being part of the community as much as he is. Where Cecilia Espinoza is a little bit more of that old guard Democrat. So hope Espinoza pulls it out and gets Hernandez out of there. That'd be a great win, I think. But I'm doubtful with these early results that he's gonna lose. Right, but don't claim it's democracy. At least you're honest about not liking democracy, right? No, it'd be absolutely wild if Epps ends up losing. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be more surprised that Hernandez loses compared to Epps based on just how the campaigns have been run so far. So it'll be really interesting to see. But yeah, Epps has not spent a lot of money. She definitely is not getting the kind of support that Hernandez is getting. We'll take a look here in a few minutes at the PACs and the different political organizations that are supporting these different candidates and seeing kind of where they're at.
Epps and
But yeah,
Hernandez, especially. I don't know if people know, but Epps and Hernandez are who this year, Epps did it last year as well, but they brought forth the assault weapon ban. So both Epps and Hernandez are always constantly going on about the genocide in Palestine is bad and all this and that. And then they're here trying to take away our guns here in Colorado. Which how do you get a genocide? You disarm people like slowly or quick, either way. So here and that's what I said on my testimony that day. They were like, "Oh, you're not allowed to say what they want." And I was like, "But that's what they want." Like, how do you? And then do you remember that letter they wrote to the Palestine protesters or area campus about free speech? Epps wasn't on it, but Hernandez and um, all of them were, and they're like, "Oh, free speech should not be infringed." And here, Timothy Hernandez had just tried to do an assault weapon ban, and then he writes a letter with using the words "shall not be infringed." Like, how evil! It's so evil.
they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They know totally what they're doing there. They're against genocide, but of course, as long as they're the ones with the guns, they're the ones in charge. They might not have as much of a problem with it as you might think, I would say.
Do you think they're smart enough to understand that, or do you think they're just following orders, Elizabeth and Tim?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, no, being around, not really being around Elizabeth Epps, but seeing her talk and seeing her attitude, it's hard to believe that she's following orders from anybody. It seems like she's totally a rogue agent acting on her own, which is why she's not getting the support of the Democratic establishment, I would say. Um, Hernandez, he's definitely more in line with what they're trying to do. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I would think that maybe if one of them's following orders, him more than her for sure.
Yeah, I think she's more worried about getting another like HBO documentary or, like she's more worried about that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, she was bragging about her assault weapon ban the other day. They posted I had this comic where it's like, okay, I'll give you my gun, but if you're gonna become a tyrannical government, you gotta give me my gun back, because that's what it's I just don't know how they don't get it. They don't
Well, they think they're going to be the ones in charge. They think they're going to be the ones with all the guns. They know that the people they're taking the guns away from are the people who are going to follow the rules, the more conservative types. Those are the types of people they want to disarm. Their people aren't going to give up their guns no matter what the law says because they're not going to follow the law anyway. That's kind of how I look at it, at least.
yeah. And didn't like Mark say never give up your guns and like things like this. So if you're really truly a commie, you're not I don't know. Oh, I think that was my first commie. There's a second one. If you're watching, take a shot.
Nice. I was just trying to see if I can adjust my Zoom here to have a better Zoom sized window on my live stream here, but I
And I
am
loved
not too sure yet.
reps when they were organizing the Palestine protest, which was all government people there speaking, which is weird. They're all the state, the man, they're speaking, and they brought Angela Davis out. And then like a couple weeks later, they found out Angela Davis was like the ge- they were colonizers. Her relatives were colonizers, and they're all about anti-colonizers and all this and that. And Angela Davis found out she's related to what they call colonizers. So that was funny to troll Epps with for a while.
Oh yeah. I mean, they don't care either. They're just gonna do whatever they need to win. They don't really care
It's all
about.
theatrics and all that. Like I've
Definitely
definitely
100%.
I've definitely learned that with being more involved, like how much like did you see the AOC speech the other day where she was jumping around and like did you see it?
Yeah, she ran up on the stage. Yeah, it's all for theatrics. It's all to get
Yeah.
people interested and engaged and get the clicks. It has nothing to do with um, actual results, you know.
It's all they're trained to be these like speakers, like Hitler did. Like they're all trained to be like how to get people amped up on certain things and what you say, how you move, your energy and stuff. And they're just so trained to be like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
4,000. Nice,
there we go,
Hannah.
Hannah. Nice, Hannah. Good job getting 4,200 votes so far. Democrats actually having a relatively strong showing, so we'll see. I mean, still 10,000 gap there for the Congressional District 4 vacancy. So we'll keep
Oh
an
wait,
eye
how
on
many
that one
did
for
Frank
sure.
have? How many did Frank have?
Frank
Nice.
Atwood has 1,500 votes,
Not bad, Frank. Not bad for throwing your hat.
right? For somebody for the approval voting party, which nobody's really ever heard of, but getting that many votes. Let's
He's
take a
like
look at
being an
congressional district.
activist. He's being an activist doing that, which that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah, just trying to get his name out there, really.
Jeff Hurd's way ahead of
Jeff Hurd pulling it
everybody.
far ahead. Yeah, I think he's got the best chance for sure. Interesting to see Ron Hanks is pretty far behind him there. Ron Hanks, of course, is the Colorado Republican Party's pick, party leadership at least. You know, the Dave Williams contingent pushing for Ron Hanks. So seeing that Jeff Hurd is beating him pretty good is an interesting sign. A lot of people think that Jeff Hurd is going to have a better chance at beating Adam Frisch, which is interesting. Somebody in the comments says thoughts on the CD4 primary. I don't see a decent candidate. For the Republican side on CD4, let's take a look here. Lauren Boebert's definitely going to win, I would say. In my mind, there's no doubt the Boebert is going to beat everybody else there.
Yeah, even people who don't like her are voting for her. So
Yeah, I mean, she's got the best name recognition. She's got the most money. We'll take a look at the finances here in just a little bit and see where they're at that way. But yeah, Boebert's pulling far, far ahead. No surprise there. CD5, that's a big race too between Dave Williams and Jeff Crank. We'll see where that goes. No results as of yet. And then CD8 is the other big one. Gabe Evans has a commanding lead over Yannick Joshi. Not surprising at all. I think Gabe is definitely the favorite candidate to win that. I think he's the probably, you know, as much as I like Yannick and he's a great voting record in the state house, I think Gabe probably has the better chance to win in the general election for sure.
is Gabe, who used to be a police officer?
Yes, Gabe is very pro police. Definitely has pro military, pro police background. So I think that's appealing to a lot of people in this day and age in Colorado when violent crime is so bad.
He brings it up a lot. He says, "In my 10 years of being a police officer."
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's all about when he was a police officer for sure. Taking a look at the Board of Education, there's going to be this Congressional District 2 race. We'll talk about that one here in a little bit when we look at campaign finance. Rodriguez is supposedly more pro charter school than Kathy Gebhardt. They're both Democrats. They're both very progressive in their own ways. But Rodriguez is definitely backed by the more pro charter organizations nationally. So it'll be very interesting to see this race play out. Definitely neck and neck as of right now. Another big race down there is Christy Burton Brown, former Republican Party chair, big activist, especially now with Advance Colorado, running for State Board of Education, Congressional District 4. She's got a pretty good lead so far. I
Oh, that's
expect her to
good.
beat Larson there.
That's good. I mean, she's got a good presence. I like KBB. She was the chair of the Colorado GOP for a while, right? Is that where she came from?
Definitely. She was definitely the chair previously there. We got another comment here on YouTube. I got one. Who signed the Federal Liberty Pledge? Do we know anybody who signed that pledge from the Republican side of pro libertarian? I know Janik Yoshi in Congressional District 4, who or in Congressional District 8, excuse me, who's losing right now, signed it. Not sure who else there.
For the federal side. We
Yeah,
know Boebert didn't.
Boebert did not sign it. Looking here at the state Senate races, we got Lisa Frizzell beating Tim Arvidsson. Tim Arvidsson is endorsed by Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. Lisa Frizzell's a state representative, former not auditor, gosh, county assessor down south there. So she's pulling far ahead. No surprise there. Looking at any other state senate races here, not
Yeah,
a lot
because
of
she's
results for
already
some of
in,
these.
right? Like she's
Hmm.
already, yeah.
So she's in the House now running for Senate
Oh,
there. Interesting to see
Lindsay.
Lindsay Dowdy, Dowtry beating Obi. Definitely Lindsay's the more pro-establishment candidate, current state rep, more of that quote unquote moderate Democrat, not really, but supported by the more moderate crowd at least.
Do you think so? I get the weird progressive vibe from her, just how she acted during the session. But did you? I don't. If, it'd be interesting if the graph comes on. I wanted to ask him about that because there was one time when he was up talking to people, and she came up and was all like shuffling papers and trying to distract from him and stuff, and looking like a little child. Like
Yeah,
interesting.
I would say she's definitely more on the progressive side for sure, but it'll be interesting to see. But compared to Obi, she's more moderate. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Obi's
yeah,
definitely more on that socialist side, from what I understand, at least.
yeah.
Uh, we'll talk a little bit more later about Senate District 28. Really interesting there to see Weissman beating Idris Keith. I'm trying to say that right. Idris Keith. So a lot of money being spent in that race. We'll take a look at the financing here just in a little bit. So really interesting stuff there. And there are some really interesting county races we'll take a look at here as more results come in as well. Yeah,
I got a
Hernandez
comment
falling
on my
behind.
YouTube, and it says, "And Bobert's hot."
That does help her. That's for sure.
They knew what they were
Somebody else
doing.
in, oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to recruit a candidate that is attractive. You know what I mean? Tim Hernandez about 800 votes behind the latest count here. Camacho with a strong lead. Wow. A 3,200 vote lead over Elizabeth Epps. That'll be very interesting to see. And we'll take a look in a couple minutes at the campaign financing behind that one as well.
So hopefully, no assault weapon ban next year if those two, if Epps especially, because she's like, "I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again." Blah blah blah. Well, if you're not there, you're not. You're not.
Definitely. Just scrolling down here through the other
What
state house races.
was the V Hill
Yeah.
one? Did you see V Hill up in? I think there was no one running
Um,
against her in primaries.
yeah,
So
Steph B. Hill's running unopposed. Unfortunately, it'd have been nice to have seen a more moderate Democrat run against her because she is definitely one of the more extreme members down there. Hey, there's Ramy Johnson's got 3,200 votes running unopposed there.
is that Raimi, the old lady Raimi?
Yep,
I love her. I didn't know she was running. Good for you, Raimi. Kyle Clark's
really,
nemesis is Raimi. Kyle Clark hates Raimi because she's an older woman. I love it.
definitely. Really interesting to see. We'll see how this plays out as the night continues. But House District 30, Rebecca Stewart versus Kira DeGray Kennedy. Kira DeGray Kennedy is the wife of Chris DeGray Kennedy, who's now at the Bell Policy Center, an advocate to abolish the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, wants to raise taxes, has totally robbed us of so much of our tax refund money during his tenure at the state legislature. Really happy to see him leave, but of course, they got a replacement in the wings, which is his wife. She's definitely the more socialist, more radical candidate. So really interesting to see that big money coming in favor of Rebecca Stewart there.
Is she more moderate, Rebecca Stewart?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, they're both probably pretty much communists, but from the Democratic side, she's definitely the moderate one. Jackie Phillips versus Julia Marvin. We'll talk about that one here as well when we get into some of the financing and who's behind a lot of these supporters there. Wow, interesting to see Brian
Oh,
Lindstrom losing there.
yes. Sorry, Brian. He used to troll me all the time, and then he eventually blocked me. And I was like, sorry. That's good. I'm glad he's losing.
Yeah, Brian Lindstrom is a total communist, total left wing loony. So really hope that he ends up losing. The screen refresh, I kind of lost my place here where I was
Um,
at. Up in Northern Colorado, House District 52, Yara Zoke. She's definitely the more radical, the more socialist, sponsored by the Democratic Socialists of America, their Fort Collins chapter, winning against this Ethne Triek. Don't know much about that person, but they're supported by the more moderate contingent of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, the Yara girl was supported by all the like just the policy centers, like the I'm pretty sure that's who it was. Like Conservation Colorado, which Conservation Colorado doesn't even do anything for conservation. They just help pass laws to get more money for the government and help the government get more powerful. Like drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, they're smart about how they name their groups. They'll say it's the pro-environmental group, and it's really just to build high density housing.
Yeah, I'm like, when? How much time have you spent even picking up litter around your house? Well, not, well, none, but that doesn't matter. We just need more taxpayer dollars, and we'll save the environment. And I used to volunteer in land conservation, and in Colorado, mostly conservatives donate to land conservation, and they donate their land to land conservation with conservation easements and stuff. So it's funny that they try to. It's like obviously you want a train up and down the Front Range and high density zoning all over it.
Definitely high development, government control over every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, I love
So I
it. They
think
say,
let's,
oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, sorry, go ahead.
They say, oh, it'll control sprawl. And I'm like, if you're putting in a train station where people can't drive, you're creating sprawl. Like you're going to create a spot where people had cars and we didn't need to like build right there. But if you build a train station there, now we have to build. You're creating sprawl.
Definitely, yeah. You're creating sprawl. You're creating more high density communities with sky rises and tall buildings, less open space, for sure. I'd like to take a look a little bit here at some of the slides I put together here, kind of talking about the split. So, big conversation tonight. One of the big themes is kind of the farther left part of the Democratic Party versus the more moderate left, I guess is a way to put it. The more establishment left versus the far left. So, kind of on the screen here, and you can see on the left side is that further left. So, a lot of these are Democratic Socialists of America candidates, which we'll look at their list of endorsements in a little bit. But of course, some names we've already talked about: Tim Hernandez, Brian Lindstrom, Yara Zoke, Mike Wiseman, Julia Marvin, Elizabeth Epps, Kira DeGray Kennedy, Obi, Izadi, and Jovita Schiffer. So these are definitely some of the more left-leaning, more socialist, more progressive, if you will, candidates. On the right side of your screen is the more establishment, more moderate, quote unquote, Democrats. I think it's safe to say, Jessica, we're both libertarians. So from our perspective, they're all very similar from our perspective, but there is some real splits within the Democratic Party right now.
Yeah, maybe some of the more moderate ones can actually say, hey, maybe we should limit government to some extent still. But where the other ones, they're like, no, we need more they need more they want government to control everything out here in Colorado. They want government to control every aspect of our life, which they've tried before. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And a lot of the more moderate Dems seem to be against a lot of the like pro-trans policy, which I don't care about your philosophical aspect of it, but like if they're putting actual policy in with the government that will eventually get enforced by the end of a police officer's gun, that needs to be fought against. And I feel like a lot of the moderate Dems out here are fighting against that. So that's good. Just well, some of them, I guess, to some extent.
Yeah, it is interesting to see some common ground that can be made with some of these more moderate Democrats in terms of pushing back against kind of the more radical parts of the agenda there.
Yeah, because the stuff we saw this last legislative session was just it was mind-boggling to me, like what people were saying, like they were the good people, and I'm like, you're admitting you've made your children suicidal, and you're saying that like it's a good thing, and you need the state to do something else to other people, and like, yeah, it was very interesting this year, and I hope
Well, I
more
think
people
that
saw it because of Free State Colorado.
Well, thank you, Jessica. But I think that's why we're going to dive into some of the campaign financing here. That's why we're seeing such a huge millions of dollars being spent to go after some of these socialists because the mainstream Democrats, the ones who are not ideologically driven, they want to be career politicians, right? They want to go up the ladder, end up being the president one day or some cushy Washington, D.C. job. That's why they're in politics. That's the majority of politicians on both the left and right are in it for the job, the recognition, all the benefits of being an elected representative. They're not ideologically driven. But we're seeing
Right.
now more and more these ideologically driven candidates, like we see here on the further left side, who are in there for a purpose. They want to abolish the police. They want to take everybody's guns. They want to turn everything into Soviet style housing. They have this crazy agenda behind them. And a lot of the mainstream moderate Democrats do not support it. So let's keep going here a little bit. Um, looking at our revolution. So of course, that's your Bernie Sanders types. Here's their radical candidates, just to give people an idea of who these progressive, far left socialists are who want, government control over our lives. I mean, what can you say about these people, Jessica?
Well, I know Manny wants to get rid of like beef. Manny goes against beef the whole time, and he's always fighting against any ranchers and they want to try and control what we eat. Well, I know he's like that. Brian's just, they're all just, it's such a weird thing to me because I don't understand how they don't get it. They think they're a revolution. They think they're a resistance. They think that like, but they're trying to make the government, the man, more powerful. That's why, so I don't understand how they're so confused about that. But well, maybe they're not confused and they know exactly what they're doing. I don't know. But this
Well, I
Yara
think
girl, like Yara started showing up and she was getting all these weird endorsements where I'm like, have you ever done anything in your life to like, or have you only been a bureaucrat and worked in some nonprofit the whole time and that's how they found you and blah, 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 crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a really good point. Some of these people just pop out of nowhere, right? They're recruited by these socialist organizations. They're given money, they're given backing, they're given an Act Blue account, and they're given volunteers. And the people show up, support them, and then they get endorsed by these groups like Our Revolution, this national group supporting the most left-wing authoritarians in states across the country. And they get the support in the ground game. And so it'll be interesting to see which of these candidates, really only a few of them have primary challengers tonight. Junie Joseph, Yara Zoke, Kira DeGray Kennedy, and Tim Hernandez, and Brian Lindstrom. Manny Rutnell and Andrew Bosnecker don't have primary opponents, but the other ones do. So we'll be very interested to keep an eye on the results tonight to see how these far left candidates do tonight.
And I don't know if most people know, these people are wine and dine to write policy that basically only helps the government or only helps move money into their organizations that they want. It's not about freedom for the people. It's not about resistance. It's not about revolution. It's all about more government, more levels of bureaucracy, more levels of money going out the door, taking more of our tax money. That's all they care about.
100%, that's all they care about. I thought this was hilarious. So this is if you know who Tim Hernandez is, he's one of the most far left. He holds up the Marxist fist all the time in every picture he can. He sponsored extreme anti-gun legislation, but there was an ad released against him, basically saying that he is not good on gun safety. So he's not strong enough of an anti-gun candidate. Now, of course, this is baloney. Tim Hernandez wants to ban the guns if he can. He sponsored a lot of bad bills. But it just shows how the Democrats market to their primary base, right? So in a primary election, it's really the most motivated voters within your party are going to vote. And those are the ones with the most extreme views, oftentimes. So they're trying to paint Tim Hernandez as somebody who's not anti-gun enough, which is totally ridiculous and totally crazy. But we'll see if it pays off tonight, which will be really interesting.
That's hilarious because he did the assault weapon ban, which was like the most testimony and everything.
Definitely. We do have a special guest joining us here. Got Michael Vance. He's the Libertarian Party of Colorado, the legislative director. Michael, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Michael Vance. I'm the legislative director for the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and I am currently the CD5 candidate for the Libertarians down in the El Paso area.
Interesting. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Really appreciate you coming in and sharing some of your perspective here. Michael was doing live streams with myself throughout the legislative session, talking about all the bills coming through. So, Michael, I'm sure you're very familiar with a lot of the names we'll be talking tonight. So, look forward to hearing your perspective on some of these candidates and where they end up.
Absolutely. It's exciting to see. In fact, I just saw before I hopped on here that they've already called the CD4 primary for Lauren Boebert.
Awesome. Well, let's jump over and take a look at those updated results. I'm not at all shocked or surprised. I think that that would be the case here as well. We also have another guest joining. I'm not quite sure who it is based on the Zoom name, but we'll see here. But looking at the congressional election here, we got the vacancy election here. We got Greg Lopez winning there pretty handily. Hannah Goodman, Libertarian Party chair, coming in there with a good showing with 6,700 votes. Let's go and take a look at that U.S. House race. So in CD4, we're looking at On the Republican side, Lauren Boebert with an extremely, extreme lead there. I can see that being called. No doubt in my mind that she's going to win that one for sure. I mean, it's not even close, folks.
It pays to be a hot chick, man. It really does.
Definitely well said. And then we got another guest. So this Alexis on there. Do you want to introduce yourself and say hi to everybody?
Oh, hey, Alexis.
Awesome, wonderful.
She's
You're
probably with
muted there.
Heidi. Oh, she's with Gwen and Heidi, probably.
There we go. Hold on. Let me angle this a little bit.
Yeah. How's it going? So we got some people joining us here. We got Alexis, we got Gwen. You're at a watch party there?
We got police sheriff.
Ed, Sarah,
How's it going?
George.
Hi, George Muma.
Can I turn the camera on? Oh, I can.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us from your watch party tonight. Where are you at? Awesome. Looks like a nice evening to be out there. So definitely got some good candidates for office down there. Is anybody there facing a primary challenger?
No primary challengers for us, but we're celebrating our votes tonight.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you joining. It's great to see. If anybody there who's running for office wants to say hi real quick, we'd be happy to have them say hi.
Sure, yeah. I got one candidate. Would you like to talk to the podcast? State of Colorado for Freedom.
That's it.
Hey, George, if you want to introduce yourself to say what you're running for.
Yeah, this is House Representative George Muma.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? I'm running House District 25, I-70 South to the Douglas Teller Park line, 8 miles to the west of Pine and all the way out to Washington. So it's a pretty giant district. We got the mountains and we got the flats. So we're running against Tammy Story, who's from up in
Nice. That's awesome, George. Yeah, Tammy Story is one of the easiest seats to flip potentially in the state legislature this year. Looking at my whiteboard, Tammy Story only won by 719 votes 2 years ago. So House District 25 is one of the best chances for Republicans to flip a Democratic-held House seat currently.
That's the plan. We're working it pretty hard. She's made some interesting decisions with some of her legislation. Hopefully, the public has seen that. We'll make the right decision when it comes November.
Awesome. Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
You bet. You guys have a nice evening.
Let me see who else I can get you. We've got. Once the speeches are over, it's party time.
Awesome. Yeah, this is for people just joining us. This is a live look.
They're live now. Yeah.
This is great for people just joining us. This is a live view of the watch party here. Yeah.
Now we have Ed Cox.
What's up, Ed?
I'm super excited to be working with you guys. I know that you guys are doing great work with Free State. Hopefully we can start turning things around and getting some liberty-centric folks elected, but really appreciate what you guys are doing. We need all hands on deck this election. You guys know that Colorado has been going the wrong direction for a number of years, and we're hoping to change that and looking forward to working with you guys. So if there's anything I can do, would love to sit down and meet with you guys, organize whatever we can do to start changing the direction of the state.
Perfect. What are you running for, Ed?
I'm running for HD 27 against Representative Brianna Titone. So it's going to be a tough election, but we can do it and make sure that we retire Titone a little early.
Nice.
Thank you folks very much, but like I said, would love to meet with you guys, sit down, whatever I can do to be helpful. We're all a team here.
Perfect. Awesome. Appreciate it, Ed. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Thanks.
Okay. Hi, friends. Gwen Henderson here. I'm running for House District 24, which is the southern part of Arvada. I'm a native of Jefferson County, born and raised. I'm running for a seat that has no incumbent as of yet, brand new. Well, not brand new, but I'm really looking forward to campaigning with my teammates up here in the Liberty candidates of North Jefferson County. Any questions?
What
You like
district is it, Glenn?
HD 24.
Perfect. Go ahead, Jessica.
I said you look pretty, Gwen. It's Jessica.
And thank you all. Thank you, Free State, for coming to my kickoff party last Thursday in the Zone Sports and Grill. That was a really great party. I have a lot of support from both sides of the aisle. We had over 100 people. So thank you again for showing up.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Gwen. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
I got one last candidate. Senate District 19. So we want to put you on the live podcast. Tell us who you are.
Sam Vandermeer. I'm running for Senate District 19, which basically is half of Westminster from Sheridan over to the foothills, and then from Broomfield down to I-70. So it's a nice little area to work, and we're going to have fun doing it. It's my privilege to be able to represent Senate District 19.
Awesome, Sam. Thank you so much. Best wishes. Good luck.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Well, that was great. We got a live look at a watch party. Where are you located at? Where's the watch party at?
We're in Arvada.
Nice.
Right on 75th and somewhere out here, 75th Avenue.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate it. Feel free to jump back in later and say hi to people, but really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis.
All right. Take care.
Bye, guys.
We got another special guest joining us here. Jacob, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Brandon. Thanks for having me. I'm Jacob Luria. I'm currently the campaigns director for the Libertarian Party of Colorado and sporting my sweet tri-corner hat for the occasion.
Nice. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Really interested to get your perspective. Well, let's go ahead and look at some live results here. Looks like some new results have come in. People in the comments are saying. So jumping down to House District 3. Looks like Jeff Hurd has a pretty commanding lead there. He's definitely the more moderate or establishment candidate for sure. In the Democratic side for House District 4, we got Trisha Claravisi, which is definitely the more progressive of between her and Ike at least. John Pedora, really interesting to see him coming in so far behind.
I think it's Calvarisi.
Calvarisi?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'll zoom this in a little bit, make it a little bit bigger.
Camarisi.
Give a little Italian.
Looking at House District 4 on the Republican side, we got Lauren Boebert with a very commanding lead. I think that race has already been called. If not, it probably should be.
I think it has been called. I'm pretty sure. I mean, no one else is going to win at this point. So
not even close. Even if you add their votes together, they still haven't gotten where she's at.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised that she won this.
Call me, Lauren. Let's be friends. Call me. Let's hang out. Hang out with the Libertarians. Wow. Cool. Oh.
Wow. Congressional District 5 there. Is anybody surprised at this result? I am a little bit. I thought Dave would have a better chance of beating Jeff because, being the state party chair with his many years in the state legislature and just his well-known name across the state. But apparently Jeff Crank and his backers, which include a lot of the American for Prosperity people, that Koch money looks like it's paying off down there.
I'm surprised. I honestly thought Dave would win.
I did too.
Oh,
wow.
So Jeff was AFP backed, basically? Okay.
Yeah, they spent $2 million from what I heard against Dave in this primary race.
Jesus. $2 million.
That's a ton of cash. Are they? And they're pretty much expecting the Republican to win that district as well, correct?
CD5 would be considered a very safe Republican seat. Excuse me. Yes.
Gabe's cleaning up.
Yeah, probably safe to say, not a lot of votes in there yet, but Gabe looks like he's got a pretty commanding lead over Josie.
That's going to be a fun November again. Going to be a fun November for CD8 again.
Let's go ahead and jump over back to the slideshow here a little bit, if you guys don't mind. I'd love to talk a little bit about some of these different mailers we've seen. So they're attacking Tim Hernandez on his not being anti-gun enough, which is absolutely crazy. They also were attacking Elizabeth Epps for not being progressive enough, which is pretty wild. So very interesting to see the Democrats kind of going after each other. Now, if anybody's familiar with New Era Colorado, they were one of the groups kind of at the centerpiece of the Blueprint project to take over Colorado for the Democrats. They have ties to Jared Polis, Joe Neguse, Steve Fenberg, a lot of different Leslie Herod, a lot of different Democratic people in very powerful positions these days. They are definitely on the more progressive left-wing side, which is very interesting to see. I'd almost expect them to be a little bit more moderate, knowing who supported them in the past. But they're definitely supporting the more socialist candidates, as you can see here. I'd like to take a look a little bit about some campaign financing. So this is one of the biggest progressive spenders this election cycle so far in this primary. It's called Colorado Labor Action. As of yesterday, they had spent at least $500,000 for this primary election, including over $160,000 this last week. It's an Ashley Stevens group, if you're familiar with that name. She's a registered agent for a lot of these big Democratic groups. They are definitely supporting the more socialist left-wing groups of the members of the party, like Tim Hernandez, Brian Lindstrom, Yara Zoke, Mike Weissman, and Julia Marvin. So it'll be really interesting to see if they are able to pull it off tonight. Totally funded by Colorado AFL-CIO, Colorado Education Association, Colorado Trial Lawyers Association as well there. So interesting to see kind of the backing, who's spending money on the far left candidates. They're not spending as much money on the moderate candidates, but definitely the far left are getting some good support as well, with nearly $500,000 being spent to support them.
Because they'll help get them more money through the legislator, basically. I mean, that's why they're supporting them, right? With all this money.
Yeah, I mean, it's this far left union, Colorado Teachers Union especially, definitely trying to get that money there. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those state house races of those candidates they're supporting here. So Tim Hernandez is still about 800 votes behind. Hasn't changed much since we last looked.
Haha. I don't mean to be mean, but haha. Tim Hernandez. He had me blocked like last year in February of 2023. He blocked me. So like, screw you, bro.
Sean Camacho, commanding lead over Elizabeth Epps in House District 6.
I saw people posting on her Twitter where they were like, we're voting for him and not you. And they would post the picture and everything.
Oh, wow. Wow. Looking up at Junie Joseph, not too surprising there that she's winning up there. Let's skip over some of these here. Go down to just more of the contested races. Well, it refreshed on me here. I'm scrolling down. So Rebecca Stewart is still a really good lead over Kira DeGray Kennedy. That's one of the more interesting races to watch. Of course, Kira DeGray Kennedy married to Chris DeGray Kennedy, a very well-connected Democratic legislator going into the Bell Policy Center. Rebecca Stewart being supported by that moderate money, and Kira DeGray Kennedy being supported by more of the far left types. So that's definitely one to watch there as well. Add that to my favorites here. Maybe that'll make it easier. Julia Marvin versus Jackie Phillips, another race to watch there. Still pretty early in that race with only 3,600 votes reporting. We'll keep an eye there. But we'll keep scrolling. Brian Lindstrom, I don't know. Are you? What do you think, Jessica? Rooting for Brian Lindstrom to lose?
Oh, yeah. I hope he loses hard. I don't know anything about the other guy, but I know I don't like Brian. There is that.
he can pack in his left libertarianism and go home.
Yeah, that's what he used to troll me about. He would troll me on like, "Oh, you stupid libertarian," blah 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 blah, and then he blocked me. So it's like, all right, bro, you suck.
Of course, a big race down. Oops, it refreshed on me here. Let me go back down to it.
Yeah,
Hopefully, I got that added to my favorites here. But a big
Anybody
race
else?
down. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Anybody else noticing a trend so far? I'm noticing that the moderates are typically winning tonight for their primary.
I mean, in Tim Hernandez's race, neither Cecilia or Tim are moderates. They're both communists. Cecilia
is
used to be
true.
on the Denver City Council.
Oof.
All perspective there, Jacob. All perspective. You know, true from a libertarian perspective or from a right-leaning perspective, they're all commies. But nonetheless, from the Democratic Party's perspective, they're far left versus reasonably moderate. You know, progressives, I guess, is what they would probably call themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And Cecilia is the type who like just wants her place in government and wants to work her way up. Because I know people who left the Democratic Party because of her, but she just cares about like the party stuff and, like you said, the people who just want a place in government the whole way, not necessarily as commie.
Really close race in House District 43. Matt Burcham is the Rocky Mount gun owner supported candidate, kind of more the grassroots candidate. Laura Thomas, county commissioner, a little bit more of a moderate candidate, I guess is one way to put it. Now, of course, you know, from the left leaning side, they'd say they're both radical right types. You know what I mean? So it's all that perspective there.
Yeah, she's
Now,
Laura. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
now correct me if I'm wrong. Was Laura Thomas the one that put out a bunch of tweets talking about how she wanted to promote Praise Drag Queen Story Hour?
That's one of the criticisms against her for sure.
Yeah, she was good on some property tax and Tabor stuff, and she's been the commissioners have been decent in Douglas County, but yeah, I think she just wants a politician, the job for life, basically. So
And there's 20% voter turnout throughout the state right now.
Jarvis is killing it, isn't he?
Yeah, Jarvis is doing really well. Not too surprising there. Let's scroll down here and try and get down to the bottom before it refreshes on me again here. See if there's any other key races down here at the top. Not too familiar with those guys, but we'll take a look.
And everyone watching, look at all these uncontested races. Even if you are a Democrat, you could win against these people. Some of them have Act Blue backing. So
House District 65 is an interesting one to watch. I mean, I've seen about 100,000 Twitter ads for Trent Lizzie. There, the guy's totally the ultra mega type of candidate. Lori Garcia Sanders, supported by Rocky Mountain gun owners, in more of the, I'd say more moderate, I guess, or more establishment Republicans as well. And that's not a knock. That's nothing against her. I think I've seen her at some different events and seems pretty good.
it's all a game. Yeah, Trent was making some anti-Ian ads and stuff. I saw they were all attacking each other.
Yeah, Trent was totally calling him Ian Escalator. We're talking about Ian Escalante there, the Rocky Mountain gun owners guy.
It totally backfired on Trent too. I thought it made Ian look kind of awesome.
Yeah, I have my old account. I don't know if you guys remember. I had the Terminator. I was like, someone photoshopped me into the Terminator. It's a cool look. That's bad.
This one's interesting. Stan Vanderwerf doing pretty good over Adriana Kuva. Kuva is the Rocky Mountain gun owners candidate there. So interesting to see that split. Yeah, a lot of uncontested seats here. Judy, I don't even know how you say her last name, Amabile. She's cleaning house there. No surprise there. Lindsay beating Obi pretty handedly as well.
So that's who Gwen will go up against.
Barbara Kirkmeyer beating Natalie Abashir. Not too surprising there. Barb's been a pretty powerful person in Weld County Republican Party politics for a long time. Be very interesting to see the Mike Wiseman and Idris Keith race. We'll look at the campaign finance here in just a minute to see that outside spending against Wiseman. So that'll be really interesting. So let's jump over to that U.S. House again, and then we'll look at some more campaigns financing stuff. So they pretty much CD3 seems pretty much called, I would say, for Jeff Hurd, although there's still a chance, I guess, Ron Hanks could mount a little bit of a challenge for him, but I don't think so. Sorry, I'm scrolling too fast. Somebody on the comments there, but I'm just trying to get to the races that are contested, that have more of that interest to it, I guess, trying to scroll past the ones that are maybe less interesting.
Do you know
So
if any,
Congressional
like,
District 3.
do you know if any of these people, like in 3, have they run for other things before? Do you know any of that kind of information on them?
Stephen Varela, he was the top line at the county assembly, actually, or the assembly for that congressional district on the Republican side. So he's kind of a grassroots favorite, except for Ron Hanks. Ron Hanks, of course, is the quote unquote election denier. He signed the Libertarian Pledge. He's definitely somebody who's, he blew up a Dominion voting machine for one of his campaign ads for U.S. Senate last year. Definitely more of a firebrand, somebody who's more of that pro-liberty warrior. Jeff Hurd, I believe he was a county commissioner before. I could be wrong on that, but definitely more that moderate, steady hand type of candidate that I know a lot of the establishment Republicans are looking for.
The moderate Republicans that let Colorado go to crap anyway, so maybe we should try something different, guys. Come on.
It's a fair point. Lone Barber, yeah, totally miles ahead of everybody. More votes than pretty much everybody else combined for the most part. So, really tight race on the Democratic 5 and CD5. Don't know much about those candidates. It should be considered a Republican stronghold. And then, yeah, Crank pulling pretty far ahead of Dave Williams. Not even, wow, double the votes. That's pretty wild. We'll
Do you
see
think
how
Crank
more
would be
of
more? Will Crank be more liberty minded? Do you think?
I hope so. I would hope so. I don't know. Hopefully he's not another milquetoast kind of Republican who's up there in a very safe seat who decides to be very moderate and restrained. Dave Williams would have been more of the Thomas Massey type, which is, what I think we need. But there you go. I think, I'm sure there'll be a lot of analysis about Dave's campaign and what happened there.
Correct.
Yeah, that email really hurt him.
It did. It was stupid.
Apparently so.
So interesting to see. So far we're seeing Tim Hernandez, who's this union-backed candidate, kind of struggling. Same with Brian Lindstrom. However, Yara Zoke is doing pretty well. She's leading her race. Mike Weisman's so far ahead, and I don't remember what Julia Marvin was. But I just wanted to look a little bit more at some of this campaign finance. So this is Labor Action supporting the far left candidates. Then we have One Main Street. One Main Street, as of yesterday, had spent at least $680,000 on these primary candidates, supporting Sean Camacho, who's running against Tim Hernandez, or excuse me, Elizabeth Epps. Sean Camacho running against Elizabeth Epps, Cecilia Espinoza running against Tim Hernandez, Julie Mullica, Rhonda Fields, Jackie Phillips, and Michael Carter. Michael Carter is that Brian Lindstrom opponent. So very interesting to see so much money coming out and supporting these more quote unquote moderate Democrats, also funded by union groups. So pipe fitters, plumbers, firefighters, all unions,
The
Department
trade
Association.
unions, the like trade business unions, the more real work unions.
That's a great point. Yeah, because the far left is supported by more of the unions associated with government, like the Colorado Education Association. But on the more moderate side, it's the trade unions. It's people who actually own businesses or work in industry that are supporting the more quote unquote moderate Democrats. So there is some dark money in this race, and by dark money they mean it's relatively untraceable. So One Main Street Colorado has another organization that dumped $700,000 in money into this IEC, and there's no donor information available. So $700,000 put into this race, into these candidates, with no way to tell who that money came from. My guess is it's from those like more moderate Democrats, like the Jared Polis types. I hate to say he's moderate, but when you compare him and these business Democrats more towards the far left socialists, there's a little bit of a split there at least.
I got in trouble for a total of 150 in donations for being an anonymous people, but they're allowed to just have $700,000. Just like, oh, we don't know who it's from. No big deal. Wild.
Yeah, and so there's this guy named Andrew Short, formerly of Unite America, which is a name that's been involved in Colorado politics, campaign spending for a while. He runs this organization, this consulting company called Engage Strategies. So he's kind of the guy behind this. I mean, when you think about hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million going through his organization, I'm sure he gets a good cut of that, I would imagine. But it's very interesting to see that he's one of those people kind of at the center of this. So that's a name to remember, and we'll see how that plays out in the general election as well. But somebody that these Democrats support or trust to help manage these campaigns from a third party perspective, from an outside money perspective. Looking real quick here at another one. This is a whole lot of people for change. They've spent over $840,000 so far, and they are definitely supporting the more pragmatic candidates. But we got a special guest joining us here, so let's go ahead and pause the screen share here and welcome Heidi Ganal. Heidi, how are you?
Hi, Brendan. I'm doing great. I'm down in Colorado Springs at the Jeff Crank party, actually. We're spread all over the state with Rocky Mountain Boys covering these candidates, and it's hopping here.
Nice. Is pretty celebratory, I imagine, for Jeff Crank down there. Are they calling the race for him?
Yeah, I think they called it. They've got about 400, 500 people here at Boot Barn. It's a pretty area, too. It's very pretty. I grew up in Monument, so this is right in my backyard. But Jeff beat Dave Williams pretty soundly, so they're pretty excited here.
Wow. What's your read on a Jeff Crank? Any idea what his issues are going to be when he's elected in November?
Yeah, actually, I've known Jeff for a long time, and I know his daughter pretty well. And he's a good man. He'll do us proud. There's been a lot of attacks and things said about him that I don't believe are true. But the proof's in the pudding how they vote, and I think voters understand that, and I think that's why Lauren won in CD4 too. Regardless of all the drama and the liberal media trying to take her out, they respect the fact that she votes the way most Republicans want her to.
Definitely, yeah. Like you said, the proof is in the pudding. The voting record, it really means a lot, and Lauren definitely voted pretty consistently on that pro-liberty perspective for sure. So really hoping Jeff Crank will do the same.
Yeah, I think he will. I'll be a bug in his ear. Don't worry. I'll be on him. I'll be like, come on, Jeff, vote the right way on this. But he's a strong conservative. I think he'll make El Paso County and CD5 in Colorado proud. And that's nice. Speaking personally, not a Rocky Mountain Boys thing, but as someone who's known him for many years and grew up in this area.
Nice. What are your thoughts, Jessica?
Hi, Heidi. It's Forrest, Mommy. I don't know if you can see me.
Hi, Jess. Good to see you.
No, I'm glad if Heidi supports him, I'm all behind him then.
Like I said, the proof's in the pudding. He's got to vote the right way, but I feel pretty good about it. I'm confident he'll do the right things.
I'm down.
Jess, how are you feeling about all the other races?
Well, so Tim Hernandez is losing as of right now, so that's great.
I'm so happy to hear that.
And Epps is losing, so that's great. So
that's incredible. That's a huge win. I think it's all you, Jess. You've annoyed the hell out of them. So I think they want to lose so they don't have to get attacked by Forrest Mommy anymore.
Oh my God, I go after Epps so hard sometimes too. I'm so surprised she hasn't blocked me because I go after her so bad. But yeah, that'll be great. And we went over earlier that the moderate Democrats said Epps and Hernandez weren't good enough on gun control. They did this. Like, how is that even?
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. I was talking to someone who's very involved in the hunting movement and the industry. Oh, they're making an announcement here. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
They're announcing one of the House districts. Anyway, and he said really he believes the path to winning back Colorado is through the Second Amendment and through the hunting community, because they're definitely trying to destroy the hunting industry here, which is $1 billion industry in Colorado. And of course, they're trying to take our Second Amendment rights away. And he truly believes, and he had some really good points, and I'll try and come up with those. But he just said, Coloradans are like rugged individualists. They're the Wild West. They're the frontier. This is who we are as Colorado. And I think people want to get back to that. They recognize what's happening to the state, and hopefully they'll vote that way going forward. But we'll see.
Who knows? Yeah, the hunters do more for land conservation and conservation in general, but then you have all these groups like Conservation Colorado, and they don't do anything for like environmental causes, really, other than steal more money from us to say they're doing stuff, but they're not. Just to pass laws
No,
to take our land.
Don't the Democrats know how to use all the right words? They're incredible at messaging. I'll give them that. And they have so much money to back it up. Like they can drive the messaging with hundreds of millions of dollars, and we have like 1 million up against it. And so most of the voters don't pay attention until the last minute, and then they believe whatever they see on the airwaves. It's so annoying.
True.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, hopefully, school choice will also have a big year this November with that potential ballot initiative. I know they're getting some signatures on that, and it just seems like that's a big winning issue. So let's hope that that's a good bipartisan issue as well. And hopefully the Second Amendment becomes more of a bipartisan issue, I think.
I think so. And the more they take rights for to be armed away from women, the more we're at risk. And I think that that's going to be a key issue going forward, especially with rising crime and sexual assault and all the things that are happening, the horrible things that are happening in our community. I think more women are going to speak up. I was talking to someone who said their concealed carry classes are packed with women right now, age 30, 40, 50, and they're getting armed up.
Nice. That's great to hear. Well, Heidi, if you get a chance, ask Jeff Crank about signing the Libertarian Party of Colorado's pledge for congressional candidates so he could potentially avoid a spoiler candidate there.
I will definitely bring that up to him. I adore you guys. I think I'm a libertarian at heart. And the reason I won the region statewide back in 2016 was because the Libertarian Party and I worked together, and we got some really cool stuff done. And I think that's the way to go going forward. It's no doubt. So I will be a bug in his ear.
Let him know I'm happy to have a conversation with Jeff going forward, because it's all of us against the radical left out here in Colorado.
It is. It's like everybody has to work together on like anyone who believes in freedom and less government and less control, more personal responsibility, personal rights. Like we've got to band together. That's my passion now. Like I just want to win again. Like I'm just passionate about winning. That's all I care about, is winning back our state, winning back our country, and making sure that my kids have the same opportunity I did to live the American dream, which they don't right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest lessons from the blueprint. If you haven't read the blueprint, you have to read the blueprint. And one of the things that Polis and everybody said is they banded different groups of the left together, some really extremists together. And they said, hey, if we're going to take this state back, we all have to get together, and we're going to implement radical implementalism, one group at a time. We're going to give you a little bit. We're going to give you a little bit. We're going to give you a little bit. We're going to give you a little bit every single election cycle. And that's why we're where we are today. So we have to do the same exact thing. We all have to get together, and we really need to come together as a solid front.
Well, I think that's the key, is building coalitions. You think about parents are really ticked off right now. Law enforcement's really ticked off. Veterans are ticked off. Farmers and ranchers are ticked off. Young people are ticked off. They can't afford to live here anymore. If we can band all those coalitions together, then we win. And I actually just guest hosted a radio show this afternoon on a Christian network. And I talked about how 64% of Colorado voters consider themselves Christians. And yet, if we voted our values, if you're truly voting your Christian values, we would win every election, because that's 2.8 million of the 4.4 million voters in Colorado. But that doesn't happen. And so that's another coalition we've got to bring together, the Jewish community, the Christian community, the LDS community. Like everyone who lives a life of faith needs to vote their values.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I mean, good luck with the left-wing Jews. I don't know what to tell you there. They're, I can't make any excuse for them, unfortunately.
It's crazy.
Coalitions is the most important thing right now. Like, and I have so much fun when I see Heidi and like all these different people when we go out and do things. And it's like, we we want to save Colorado. And so that's like, we have to work together. We have to like look beyond party lines and just organize and work together and make sure we can like try. Like you said, I grew up here in the 90s and I want it to be like that again, you know? So yeah, coalitions is the huge, and you get to hang out with cool people all the time. You know, like I think that's fun.
Heidi,
I mean,
any
it's
perspective? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Any perspective on the Elliott Hood versus Charles C.J. Johnson there for CU region at large?
Yeah, a lot of perspective. What's the count right now?
So Elliott Hood 183,000, C.J. Johnson 165,000.
Oh my gosh. So Charles Johnson was a huge football player at CU, and of course I love my Buffs. But I've gotten to know CJ as a person with my work with ACE Scholarships, which is about granting scholarships to kids to get them out of the public schools. CJ is actually a cool guy, and he's all about school choice. He has an amazing story of how school choice saved him and gave him the opportunity to play football at CU. And so I think the Democrats hate that. They don't want school choice. And Elliott is this horrible, evil attorney who helped stop our charter school that we tried to start up in Boulder County, Ascent Classical. He was the lead attorney on that. So he's terrible for Colorado, terrible for CU. I mean, I hope CJ pulls this out. I'm not optimistic because he is for school choice, and that's like a Democrat no-no.
Definitely. Yeah, just wanted to share the screen here to give people kind of that look here with Elliott Hood. Unfortunately, yeah, pretty far ahead, nearly 20,000 votes ahead of CJ Johnson there, but a lot of votes still to count for sure.
Yeah, CU, unfortunately, I mean, the good news is we could probably beat Elliott easier than we can beat CJ from the Republican side. So we've got Eric Renard running, good candidate. I call him my favorite nerd. I tell Eric he's got to embrace the nerd. He's an engineer guy, but he's a sweetheart and he has really good policy positions. And if he could win, that's statewide though, that's tough in Colorado, then we would get the majority back on the CU board, which is why, I mean, the board flipping the other way towards the Democrats is why we're losing our rights to conceal carry on campus. It's why we're losing our free speech rights. It's why they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on diversity and equity. It's a tragedy how things have flipped there.
Interesting. Very interesting.
He was the first blue collar man.
Awesome. Sounds like you got there's some speeches going on there in the background. Is that a Jeff Crank victory speech?
His speech right now.
Oh, go get it.
Awesome. Well, you can hang out with us as long as you like or come back later. It's up to you. I hate to have you miss that speech, but it's up to you there, Heidi.
All right, I'll go in and check out the speech and I'll try and check back in. But if not, I'll text you some good quotes and stuff. And thanks so much for having me on, Brandon and Jess and all of you guys. I love you and appreciate you. And let's all work together to win back our beautiful state.
Thanks, Heidi.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Heidi. Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Sounds like a big celebration down there. I'm kind of sad to see, Dave Williams lose. A good friend, I would say. But, unfortunately, that's how it goes.
Yeah, his party just the party people, everyone I know were just really mad at him. They're just really, really upset with him. So
somebody in the comments just said that the AP called Hurd and CD3. So looking at here, share the screen again. Let's take a look. Yeah, Hurd up with 30,000 votes, over a 10,000 vote differential between Hurd and Hanks there. With 73,000 votes in.
That's substantial.
Right. Very, very substantial there. So I'd love to jump back over here, looking at this campaign finance spending, if anybody's interested in that. Seeing this, so much money. I mean, we've already seen at least nearly $700,000 spent in support of these moderate Democrats, another $840,000 spent in support of these moderate Democrats. And it seems to be paying off in some of these races, right? Another one here. This is another one. Let Colorado Vote Action. They've spent $1 million. This is Kent Thiry's group. So this made a lot of news headlines this last week. Kent Thiry is a very, very wealthy man who's trying to change Colorado politics. I'm going to be talking a lot more about him as we get closer to the election when his ballot initiatives get kind of decided upon. But he dumped $1 million in basically the last 2 weeks of this primary election, supporting these moderate candidates. So I dug through the tracer spending, that's Colorado's campaign finance reporting, and here's who he's supporting, and it seems like a lot of this money's paying off so far, it looks like.
What were they? Was he spending it on ads mostly? You think, or what were you thinking he was spending it on? Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of digital, from what I understand, and mailers from what I could see. I didn't dig too deep into it that way, but it'd be interesting to know. It is interesting too, just looking at the data yesterday, how many of these Democratic groups spend money, or how much money they spend on door knockers. I mean, they're spending, it's always paid door knockers going around the neighborhoods asking for votes. It's very interesting to see thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to pay people to go knock on doors is pretty wild.
They're not volunteers. They're paid canvassers at that point, right? Like, isn't that what you would call them?
So this is one of the biggest spends so far, on nearly $500,000 for Representation Matters IEC, funded by a variety of groups, mostly Brighter Futures Colorado. People can dig into them on Tracer if they like. But Rachel Gordon group here, Idris Keith against Mike Weissman. So really interesting to see this outsized spending. $500,000 pretty much for Idris Keith over Mike Weissman. So very interesting to see there for this Senate district. A ton. I mean, it's insane. It's as much money as you think in a congressional primary. This is a state Senate primary one out of 35 state senators. The Democrats probably going to win it no matter what, but they want their Democrat to win it.
Did he switch this Idris guy? Did he switch from GOP to Democrat? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
There was someone like
that
that who happened in Aurora where they like switched, but I'm not sure.
I could see with a name like Representation Matters that he would probably be pretty far left, but I mean, I think that Mike Weissman's also pretty far left as well.
100%.
Yeah, so you're thinking about that state senator that became a Democrat or whatever, Kevin something.
Oh, Kevin Priola?
Yeah, Kevin Priola.
Thankfully, he's termed out. That's my new district where I live up here in Senate District 16. So really going to be working to try and make sure Democrat does not take that seat back.
He'll be coming out to your Liberty on the Rocks. You know, invite him out to that.
State Senate. Yep. State Senate 16.
Yes. So really looking at this. This is a huge race too. We're seeing for a state board of education race, District 2, Marisol Linda Rodriguez with $800,000 spent for her. And this is so interesting. This is a Democratic strong seat, right? So these people are both Democrats, but this progressive supporting teachers and students kind of has some pro-charter connections. So there's this national group of pro-charter people spending tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in these state board of election races all across the country. So $800,000 on a state board of education race, that's just absolutely mind-boggling. Then you got Kathy Gebhardt on the more left side. That's the teachers union. They've only been able to muster about $41,000. They're spending money left and right. The $41,000 from the Colorado Education Association, Victory Fund, Colorado Labor Action, both pro teachers union groups. I mean, a tenth of what was spent for Marisol Rodriguez.
What's the end game of a progressive who is pro charter school?
I think they just call themselves progressive. It's just a name, right? It's just a name. I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, Jessica, when you said it's probably a business. You know, these people probably have charter school companies or some sort of charter school. They're going to make money off of it somehow, is my guess.
Yeah.
And remember last year, the CEA voted to support socialism. And so they are an extreme left-wing group. So it's really interesting that you've got the progressive supporting teachers and students are fighting a extreme progressive teachers union.
Yeah, CEA went after our candidates last year. The guy in Adams County, and I'm pretty sure here too.
Oh yeah, the CEA is as far left as it gets. They're the ones supporting all the far left socialists, the Democratic Socialist candidates. But interesting to see here. So Gebhardt is pulling ahead, outspent 10-1. I mean, ridiculous amounts of money being spent here, and Rodriguez is a little bit behind, but it's not much, people. I mean, this is still early in this race, I'd say. Be very interesting to see what happens here. Gebhardt is the pro teachers union candidate, and Rodriguez is the more pro charter school type candidate. Both Democrats, but it'll be very interesting to see who wins this one.
I think Lindstrom has comfortably lost his primary.
Oh, Brian.
He-
Now that is
Yep.
that is great news. Let's
Yep.
jump over there.
2445 to 1562. So, I mean, I don't know how I can see how this district is made up, but I would assume.
I don't like being mean, but I don't like that Brian guy. So screw you. Because people come at me and be
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
you lost your election. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm fine. But screw you, Brian, for losing your election.
He would have been
Here he is.
horrible for Colorado.
Yeah. He's just some dumb kid who doesn't like understand anything. Like these people are just built bureaucrats from college. Ow. Like,
So there we go. Hey, Ash in America just joined the chat there on my YouTube. So I wanted to say hi to her.
hi.
How's it going, Ash? So Brian Lindstrom losing, by about 900 votes there against Michael Carter. Michael Carter's considered the more moderate candidate, and Brian Lindstrom is definitely that more Democratic Socialist candidate. Let's actually take a look at the Democratic Socialists of America, their Denver primary election guide. I mean, this tells you everything you need to know, people. This is as far left as it gets in Colorado politics. And it looks like they're, of course, supporting Tim Hernandez. They endorsed Tim Hernandez, of course.
Yeah, I knew they supported or endorsed Brian Lindstrom too. And I think Elizabeth Epps.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here you go, people. Let's expose this. Brian is a longtime Denver DSA member, involved in chapter labor organizing beginning back in 2018, a union organizer in the Colorado Teachers Union, started bargaining support team for his union, organized the 2018 Red for Ed educator walkouts, and worked with Tim Hernandez to pass a resolution in their union. I mean, that is publicly anti-capitalist. I mean, this is it, people here. I mean, you got Tim Hernandez, Brian Lindstrom, publicly anti-capitalists, supporting quote unquote labor rights, tenants' rights, building social housing, aka government housing. So yeah, this is a bold guy. He's unfortunately a teacher, so he's indoctrinating Colorado children with his ridiculous left-wing values.
As he was indoctrinated to become a teacher too.
Tim Hernandez was a teacher too. I think they fired him because of his activism. He had some like I think South American or Eastern European fascist flags on the wall that were, quote unquote communist, but it's just insane, man. It's just insane.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Michael Carter can pull it out over Lindstrom. It'll be really interesting to see if the Democratic Socialists of America end up losing some power, losing some of their candidates this year.
Is it just the three of them there?
No, we got Tim Hernandez, Democratic Socialist, Brian Lindstrom, Democratic Socialist, Elizabeth Epps, Kira DeGray Kennedy. Definitely want to lose that. Want her out of there. She's terrible, or not her to make it. Rebecca Stewart there against.
I think Rebecca Stewart's winning right now.
Yep, Rebecca Stewart. Julia Marvin against Jackie Phillips. Obi against Doherty.
He's losing.
Weissman over Keith. So those are the big ones they're supporting, and a couple others too. Interesting, they support CJ Johnson as well over Elliott Hood in the CU region at large.
And the DSA was helping to organize the pro-Palestine protests at the colleges, just in case everyone didn't know. Which, whatever about that. But when you're telling people to show up and get arrested, I think you're kind of suspect a little bit. In my opinion.
I'm
Definitely.
pretty sure that all the DSA members that they've endorsed are losing.
That's what I'm kind of trying to. Who did they support in 28? State Senate 28? Was it Idris Keith?
Yeah. No, Weissman.
Okay, Weissman's ahead right now.
Is that the only one that's winning?
And then what were the others? Is it House 30? State House 30?
Stewart's winning in 30.
Good. Yeah. I mean, as bad as Rebecca Stewart is, I'm sure she's much better than Kira DeGray Kennedy. I mean, that lady is, if she's anything like her husband, she's off the charts there. As you can see, Kira is endorsed by the Colorado Working Families Party. Colorado wins, and the Teamsters Local 455. She'd be an important ally to DSA members in the state house. Wow.
I don't think she's ever even really worked or ran a business or anything like that. And her husband was in the government. Like, it's just, how's that not nepotism?
Yeah, the DeGray Kennedys are aspiring to be Ian Silveri and Brittany Pedersen 2.0 is what they want to do. Democratic establishment people never having to work a real job.
Yeah, we went to Bell. Bell isn't a real job. Bell gets government funding for helping the government. Like, it's obvious. It's
Government
ugh.
jobs are usually reliable. You know, usually can there's usually some job security there.
Yeah, you can make a
Everyone
lot
wants
of
that
money.
government cheese. Yeah.
So they called it for Jeff Hurd, winning there. Mike Johnson's a group. Mike Johnson, the federal Congress Speaker of the House, his Congressional Leadership Fund dumped over $430,000 to support Hurd, and it looks like he's winning that pretty handily. So there you go there. Looking at the money in Congressional District 3, Adam Frisch, he's going to be a tough to beat. $13 million raised so far this year. Jeff Hurd only over $1 million. Now, I imagine a lot of that is because before the primary, a lot of big donors are afraid, don't want to necessarily put their money forward unless they win that primary, right? So I'd imagine now that Hurd, being the nominee for November, is going to get a lot of that money coming from DC to go after Frisch.
Hey, Ron Hanks got a lot of money for only getting second, or he got a lot of votes for only getting $22,000 dollars.
Definitely.
Yeah, Adam
Definitely.
Frisch.
Yeah. Ron. Sorry.
That's
Go
all
ahead.
that's all Adam Frisch has been doing for what, like 3 years, 4 years, is just touting around that half of the state, collecting money,
Yeah, he says
waving like the Queen of England.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
just grassroots, but he's just like, they're probably getting people sign up for Act Blue where it gives a monthly donation and they don't know, like, because that's what his whole thing was. He's like, no, out of state, blah, 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 but I'm Act Blue. He's been doing it. What did he call it? The 546 project? Because that's what he lost to
We had
Boebert with.
a libertarian candidate who signed up for Act Blue, and they sent him an email that was like, absolutely not. You are not our kind of candidate. It was worth a try, though. You know,
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I'm glad they tried. That's interesting.
That's funny. So looking at Congressional District 4 on the Republican side, Lauren Boebert winning that handily. Greg Lopez winning the vacancy election. And it looks like, was it Trisha is winning on the Democratic side? If anybody wants to double check that, I think that's what the last numbers had
Yes.
shown.
45. She's got 45.86% of the vote. Ike McCorkle has 40.73% of the vote, and John Petora Jr. is left with 13.41.
did Ike run 2 years ago in that district? Okay, I remember.
Yeah. I believe 2
debating.
years ago and 2 years before that, and lost to Ken Buck both times.
I'm not completely surprised Trisha is beating Ike. I don't remember being overly impressed. I don't think Ken Buck showed up to whatever this talk or debate was, but I don't remember being overly impressed with Ike. But also, maybe it's just also not my type of candidate. I don't know. Even if you're
Definitely.
like blue collar, maybe put on a shirt and don't wear like a dirty baseball cap when you show up. So Trisha probably, and at the debate, Trisha definitely presented herself as a moderate Manchin style union blue dog Democrat.
Definitely. Want to introduce a new special guest joining us tonight. We have the mayor of Keensburg, Colorado's elected libertarian mayor, Mayor Aaron Lamb. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Doing great. Very excited to see some of the results coming in. Happy to join you all. And sorry I've missed out on the earlier part, but had something a little bit more important to take care of.
Awesome. Glad you joined us here.
Like running a
So-
town. That's more important. I'm just
Like taking care of my daughter. That's
Yeah.
really what it was. Just getting her to bed. But yeah, I've been looking at the results. Very excited to see some of our least favorites that have already lost. Looks like Epps and Hernandez are embarrassed at this point. Was disappointed that Mabre and Loreno Garcia were unopposed, but was very hopeful that we would have seen similar results had we had any kind of moderate Democrat go against them in this primary.
Definitely. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen back again here. We'll jump over and look at some more results here as well. But just wanted to mention the Congressional District 4, just to show people how much money Boebert has over her opponents. She raised $3.7 million so far. McCorkle, 1.47. Deborah Flora, 418,000. Sonnenberg, 354. Pedora, 304. So very interesting to see Trisha doing so well with only her 138,000. Mike Lynch didn't raise too much at all. So not too surprising. Of course, Lauren Boebert's got the name recognition. She's got the votes. She's got the record, but also she's got $3.7 million in the bank. A lot of money.
So much money, man.
Well, I mean, again, to clarify, that's what she had. She's already spent that. Looks like she only has 681 left, which is still substantially greater than the rest in that district. But I mean, again, I think that certainly is a great point to highlight that, again, these people that get all this money, the Republicans have their own PAC. We know Act Blue with the Democrats, and you get the results because you are constantly on the TVs and all the newspapers, on social media advertisements. I mean, that's what you get.
Yeah, the
definitely.
Republicans will coalesce around her just because, you know, I imagine even going into 2024, every seat is going to count in the House. And no matter how you feel, it's still someone on your side.
And everyone loves a hot girl. You can't not, like, you do. Someone on my Rumble said that Ike guy is running like the past 3 elections and he's not impressed either. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got money from somewhere, that's for sure. But yeah, you know, part of me wonders, is Lauren Boebert spending $3.8 million really money well spent? I mean, she's winning so handily. It's a safe seat, don't get me wrong. I guess the strategy would be you spend it now because you don't have to spend it later because it's such a safe Republican seat, right? So if she wins the primary, she's basically guaranteed the general, I would think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think also maybe 6 weeks ago, the results that we're seeing coming in now would have been very surprising to me. I thought that it was a much closer race given all of the public scrutiny and mishaps that Lauren Boebert has had in the last year. I did think it was going to be a bit more competitive than it's turning out to be.
scandals are a good thing sometimes. I guess apparently.
No bad publicity, as they say.
So Jeff Crank beat Dave Williams there pretty handedly. He also raised double the amount of money and spent a lot of it as well. This was as of June 5th, at least. So, you know, Williams' campaign was a little slow to spend it, unfortunately, for him. But it looks like, you know, Crank had the money. And according to what I've heard, another $2 million in outside DC money coming in to support Crank as well. So interesting to see the money play in that race.
I wonder if Williams thought he had it in the bag just because he's the chair or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
That's my thought as well, for sure.
But everyone
maybe.
I talk to doesn't like him. It's like everyone that's Republican doesn't like him. Goofy.
This ad was pretty funny, I thought. This was a Dave Williams ad talking about Trump. And, you know, a lot of, maybe not every Republican is totally backed by supporting Trump. You know, that's another way to look at it as well, because Dave was really running on being the Trump candidate and it didn't pay off for him. I mean, this mailer here talks about Jeff Crank being a never Trump pro-amnesty candidate. So, you know, maybe whether that's true or not, pretty interesting to see that strategy didn't necessarily pay off.
Maybe a lot of Colorado Republicans saw, or they don't like Trump because of the COVID stuff too. Maybe they're a little more thoughtful about that. I don't know.
There is a moderate wing here. I mean, I actually was looking through the presidential results, and Nikki Haley has dropped out anyways, but she took like 33% of the primary vote here anyways, and technically picked up 22 delegates out of Colorado from the Republicans. So, you know, there definitely is clearly a big anti-Trump wing here in Colorado. I mean, you know, 66% is still good, but when that comes around to the general, you know, maybe that's going to hurt Trump quite a bit.
Quite possibly. Looking at campaign finance reports from Congressional District 8. So this is going to be one of the most expensive races in the country for Congress this year. We see Gabe Evans. Looks like he's got that in the bag tonight. He's going to be the candidate to go up against Yadira Carveo in November. And that's going to be a tough race. She's already got $3.3 million raised. The Dems have already spent a lot of money for the November election, buying TV spots and everything like that. Was just recently reported. So Gabe's got a lot of work to do, a lot of catching up to do. And yet I got to think his pro-military or pro-police background is going to help him out with a lot of people. Because CD8, it's a big growing area there. A lot of crime, a lot of issues. So maybe people will be more receptive to him as a candidate. We'll see.
Is he a cop? I had no idea he was a cop.
He doesn't
I'm
mention it.
joking.
He never mentions it every 5 minutes.
I'm pretty sure when he did the debate, I tried to count, and I think after 30 is when I lost how many times he mentioned that he was a cop.
And every time on any testimony, when he's on a committee or anything, when he like asks questions, he always brings it up when he asks questions too. Every time, it's like, oh, okay, for 10 years, over a little over 10 years. I know that.
Looking at the Republican Party, a big split here. So it's kind of hard to divide exactly between more grassroots or more conservative versus not, in some of these candidates, but kind of seeing some of the split here of the different candidates. So it'll be really interesting to see. I know some of these races are pretty close to decided. So we'll have to take a look here and see how these results played out.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet cut out. Are you able to hear me and see me currently?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. So again, I wanted to actually bring up CD8 with Evans and Yadira Cavero's current vote totals. It looks, I would love to hear your all's thoughts on this. I mean, based on that, and I believe Adam Frisch's district as well, it seems that the Republicans are in a good position as they have a lot more turnout in the primary. Of course, the general, that's when all the unaffiliateds really come out and have a bit more of an effect. So just wanted to hear your all's thoughts on those two districts and how what we're seeing in the vote turnout may impact the election in the fall.
I think it probably comes down to the unaffiliateds, right? I mean, ultimately, you talk to enough Republicans, they'll tell you that there's not as many unaffiliateds as you think. There's a lot more Democrats who just don't register as Democrat. But I guess this November is going to be an interesting time to test that, right? I mean, as Colorado, there are a lot of articles. Colorado is like the third most violent state, and a lot of that is property theft. But even still, you have those numbers being posted. Maybe the law and order candidate does it. The other problem is ultimately, I don't know, and maybe Brandon, you might have a different idea of this, or Mr. Mayor, how much. I mean, how is it just maybe police money that Gabe is able to get from a national level? I mean, how much effect is he going to have on, law and order here in Colorado as a congressperson?
Well, I don't think that he necessarily is getting a lot of money directly there. I mean, he also, if I'm not mistaken, is a veteran. So I think both of those give him some bona fides in his party, and that helps get some more at the national level, given that he was already elected at the state level. So again, he has the resume, he has that track record, and especially with voting against qualified immunity, that's of course why we're not fans of Mr. Evans, but that I again believe earned him some cred within his party and within that wing. So that has to be where the majority of his funding is coming from.
I mean, if Trump wins and gets a majority again, and they are able to pass more VA reform, and Gabe, votes in favor of that, that would be a great thing, and that would earn him a lot of credit. But
yeah, Gabe has a long way to go. I mean, the Democrats are going to dump every penny they have to keep that seat. That's how they're going to see it. But I think he's more well suited to beat Caraveo than Joshi was. And he's going to get the money. I think the money is going to start flowing in now that the primary is over and he's the candidate. So yeah, law enforcement, but every Republican group acting at a national level is going to be putting money into that campaign. I would say it's definitely one of the most winnable. If you look at the election results last year, 2 years ago, last cycle, it's one of the most winnable congressional districts in the entire country. So I think Gabe can do it if he's messaging right and he's got the right third-party support. We'll see how the campaigns play out, but it's going to be one of the hardest fought campaigns in the state, if not the country.
Trying to see what 8 is. Oh, I'm not muted.
But yeah,
Is there
interesting
a lot
to
of,
see the turnout.
Suburbs? Is it suburbs where 8 is, or what is 8 about?
We'll pull it up here. Colorado Congressional District 8.
Isn't it kind of like in between Fort Collins and Denver Metro?
Like Longmont.
That's a pretty good way to put it. Here, I can pull it up here a little bit easier. Let's look at Gabe Evans. There we go. So here's Congressional District 8.
I have a map. Show a map, right?
Yeah, there should be a map here.
I'm a map brain.
Same.
Keep scrolling down here.
There we
Alright,
go.
let's see if I can blow this up at all. No, that didn't do it. I guess real quick while we're at the, oh, there we go.
I only let you
Click the map
shrink
to
it.
enlarge it. Didn't enlarge it very much. Maybe if I
There-
open it in
long,
new tab.
So,
they say
I-
long.
Here we go.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, yes. So again, essentially, as Michael had indicated, it's that stretch, but it does fully encompass Greeley and nice and bubbles out Keensburg. So we're not a part of this.
Yeah, from Greeley down south, some of the eastern I-25 corridor, Dacono, Firestone.
Where there's a lot of
Meade,
building, but
Platteville.
there's also a lot of people who are moving there are probably more gas and oil people or like more minded like that. Hopefully. I don't know.
You would hope. I would say though, a lot of them are. These are mostly at this point just bedroom communities that people are commuting to Fort Collins or Denver.
And they moved
So a lot of them
to
are
California.
Anywhere. It's hard to say. I mean, yeah, California, Massachusetts, New York were three of the top new states that we got people from during COVID. I'm not sure how that's changed in the last year or two.
I did not.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did not realize that the southern edge of CD8 was so close to Arvada and Denver.
I was going to say it's really going to come down to that North Denver area, that northeastern Westminster, Thornton, North Glen, North Commerce City. All of that's where the biggest population center is in this district. So I imagine that's where the focus is going to be. You know, if I was Gabe, I'd be really running on crime and really talking about, you know, the lawlessness, people getting their cars stolen, homes broken into. There's a lot of that happening in his district, especially that portion of it. So really hammering that hard, I think, would be a good strategy. Brighton, all of that area, cost of living and crime, definitely two big issues. You could tie Carveo to all the policies that have been enacted during this Biden tenure.
Strongly agree. And would just add again, his law enforcement background makes him the perfect candidate if that is the strategy.
100%. So really going to be a very interesting race there, Congressional District 8. It's going to be one to watch. If people are involved one way or the other or want to get involved, you know, I don't recommend people spending their time on federal politics, but this is one where you could actually make a difference. You know, anybody who's out there who likes one of these candidates but doesn't want to, or maybe even likes the presidential candidate but wants to have an impact, think about Congressional District or State Legislative District to really spend your time and money into. Let's jump back over here. I want to take a look at some of these Democratic splits here in the State House. Let's get an update here, see if there's an update on our best friends over there. You know, the authoritarian socialist criminals, best friend, Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez there. So Lindsay Doherty beating Obie. That's a knock for the socialists were supporting Obie, the more traditional Democrats supporting Lindsay. So interesting to see that one. Weissman definitely being supported by the more left-wing part of the party. Is still pulling ahead, only 800 votes, so still relatively tight. I imagine that's going to be a tight race. We'll see. Of course, House District 4, everybody's least favorite, Tim Hernandez. Oh, it just refreshed on me, I think. Sorry about that. You scroll back up. Sorry for scrolling so fast there, people, but here we are. Tim Hernandez and Cecilia Espinoza. He's still trailing her by, you know, about 800 votes or so. So still pretty tight, pretty tight. House District 6, not quite as close there. Sam Camacho with a pretty strong lead over Elizabeth Epps. Wow. I mean, you can almost call that race. We'll see if Elizabeth Epps uses this in her next HBO program. Judy Joseph ahead. And this is one I'm really excited to see. Not that I want to see Rebecca Stewart win, don't get me wrong. I'd rather see a Republican win in House District 30, but nice to see just a total repudiation of some of these socialist candidates, especially the DeGray Kennedys. I mean, they have been such a thorn in the side of Colorado taxpayers. Definitely trying to increase and grow the size of government, take more money out of our paychecks. So seeing them get repudiated and Rebecca Stewart pulling ahead so handedly is a positive step in a direction, I'd say. Same with House District 31 here. Jackie Phillips beating Julia Marvin. So Julia Marvin, if you remember, let's go over back to see what the Democratic Socialists had said. Julia Marvin is a Democratic Socialist candidate recommended yes as a strategic vote. Marvin's largest donations are from the Teachers Union and an environmental group. She has the support of a couple of DSA's elected officials and endorsed by the Colorado Working Families Party. Access to healthcare and education. She wants to increase the use of transit and limit vehicle idling. So there's this anti-car agenda popping up, endorsed by the major labor unions. So why don't the Democratic Socialists like Jackie Phillips? Well, she's received almost $6,000 from the Apartment Association of Metro Denver, aka the landlord lobby. That's pretty funny. And so that's really why they don't like her, is because she's not somebody who's going to support their anti-property legislation and anti-landlord legislation. Maybe she will, I don't know, but that's the Democratic Socialists don't seem to think that Jackie Phillips is going to support that. So she's pulling ahead right now.
Only the government's allowed to be a landlord in their mind. Only the government.
That's right. It's very exciting to see. As you've said, it seems the results are coming in, and there's a very strong repudiation of these people, and it's wonderful to see.
Definitely just refreshed on me. Let's see if there's any updates on those key races. Not necessarily on those districts.
There's one I don't think we're quite tracking, and that's the 23rd Judicial District for the district attorney. And George Brockler is up 65 to 34.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think he's definitely the favorite candidate. Let's jump over there and look at the district attorney races. It's the Democratic Party. And scroll down here a little quick there. Sorry for people for moving so fast, but we're trying to just find the most recent one here, the 23rd district, which happens to be at the bottom, of course. We'll add that to the favorites. Yeah, not really close at all. George Brockler's been in Colorado politics for a long time. He's earned the ire of a lot of gun owners. I know a lot of the Rocky Mountain gun owners guys were not really happy with him for his initial support of red flag gun confiscation back in 2017. But nonetheless, he's a well-known name. He's on the radio. He's writing newspaper articles. He's got the presence and he's got the connections. So not shocked to see that Brockler's pulling ahead there and probably has that in the bag.
The y'all guys trolled him pretty good, which is
So yeah, very interesting there.
I liked how the y'all guys trolled him. Like a couple months ago, all the y'all boys from there trolled him. Love it.
So let's see any other big news here. I just want to jump back over here. We looked at some of these different races here. So actually, I'm going to edit the spreadsheet here. Let's see where we're at on the Democratic side. So looks like Michael Carter. Let's get back over here to the State House against Lindstrom. And let's update the board here. So we got Michael Carter. Wow, smashing. And I think Brian Lindstrom on Twitter basically said he's done, kind of gave up. The numbers are in. Oh, sorry, keep scrolling there. There it is. House District 36. So, I mean, not full results are in yet, but nonetheless, pretty handedly losing there. So, just refreshed on me. But interesting to see Michael Carter supported by the more moderate Democrats, beating Brian Lindstrom supported by the more left radical Democrats there. So let's go ahead and mark that Brian Lindstrom or Michael Carter. We'll go ahead and mark him green here to show that he won that race. Brian Lindstrom will mark red. He deserves to be marked red anyway, but we'll kind of keep track and see who comes out ahead tonight. Tim Hernandez, Cecilia Espinoza, looking at that race in House District 4. Still going, but quite possibly. Oh, sorry, moving a little quick here. I'm trying to find it there. So we're only talking, 800 votes or so. So still a ways to go, but definitely pretty far behind. So I don't know if it's early enough to call that one, but let's go ahead and mark it that Espinoza is pretty far ahead. So on the left here is the more radical, the more socialist type of candidates, and on the right, also socialist, but slightly less radical. Somebody in the chat on YouTube is asking about HD 49. Let's go take a look at HD 49 and see where we're at there. That is Leslie Smith and Max Woodfin. Leslie Smith is definitely crushing Max Woodfin. I'm not too familiar with either of those candidates on House District 49, but nonetheless, pretty strong results there on the Democratic side. Let's go ahead and get back to the chart here on the board. Yara Zoke, so totally supported by the teachers unions. Democratic Socialists of America candidate, House District 52. Let's see where she's sitting at. I think she's actually pulling ahead, if I'm not mistaken. So it's interesting to see, not all of the, she's doing pretty well there. I mean, pretty handedly ahead. So definitely the socialists are winning that one. And that should be a pretty safe seat.
She was strong online. They must have been spending a ton of money online for her, because all of a sudden she just came out of nowhere. There was a ton of posts on Twitter and stuff. So
yeah, and I think a lot of it's the ground game too, really. I think she had a lot of ground support along with college students, because House District 52 is definitely up in northern Colorado, not necessarily in Fort Collins where CSU is, but I know the Fort Collins DSA chapter was really coming out strong for her.
Out of everybody on that list too, I mean, Epps and Hernandez and Lindstrom are definitely the most like vocal, kind of, difficult House members. The rest of them, like I'm not I know who Obi is only because I know he was challenging Lindsay Doherty, but in general they don't make the news as much. They aren't as quarrelsome with their coworkers. And I wasn't Elizabeth Epps the one who launched the lawsuit against her party for having secret meetings or whatever, so
Yeah, it was her and Bob Marshall.
Oh, Bob Marshall did it too. I didn't realize he was on that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. She's been a thorn in the side of her party, which, I got to give her a little bit of credit for that. She was a big pro-transparency, pushing for pro-transparency legislation this year, challenging party leadership on the Democratic side for their disregard for open meetings laws. So, a broken clock is still right twice a day. Still happy to see her out, but nonetheless, a couple good issues. Got to give her credit for. Seen Jackie Phillips beating Julia Marvin. Definitely interesting there. We'll go ahead and mark Epps as losing at this point, and Camacho is in the lead. Rebecca Stewart in the lead. So the right side is more of the moderate, more traditional establishment Democrats, I guess is a way to put it. And on the left is the more insurgent left-wing socialist candidates. So they have a couple wins so far, and we can talk about why. But interesting to see this total. And Judy's way ahead against Jovita. So interesting to see. Really Yara and Mike Weissman are the two Democratic Socialists winning, where the more moderate, maybe some of it has to do with campaign spending, right? You got to wonder if that's part of the story as well. Because when we look at how much one Main Street has spent, these are all the names in green on the right. One Main Street has spent, $700,000 supporting those candidates. A whole lot of people for change has spent $840,000 supporting those candidates. So money does talk. Money does help win elections. That's for sure. So the moderate Democrats, the more, business Democrats have definitely shown up in force and put their money where their mouth is to kind of expel the more radical socialist members of their party, for better or for worse in some regard.
And it's a primary too, so hitting every door with a ton of material is absolutely worth it. Yeah.
Colorado Engaged on YouTube there. Good friend Natalie Menton says Rebecca Stewart is terrible elected rep. She'll be terrible. She's a Lakewood City Councilor and just as bad as DeGray Kennedy. So, take these wins. The more moderates winning is a kind of a grain of salt. I really appreciate that. Of course, the people, that's why I still labeled them far left. I mean, they're still totally far left, totally radical people, but nonetheless, just a different faction of this radical Democratic Party in Colorado, I guess is a better way to put it.
Hi, Natalie. Natalie had a busy night tonight too, I'm pretty sure. Need to get the update on her on all the RTD stuff.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to hear that. Looking at the split in the Republican Party, let's see. Let's go take a look at some of these races here. So House District 43, Matt Burcham. He's narrowly winning, 700 votes ahead against Laura Thomas, which is very interesting to see. So we'll go ahead and let's mark him on the board for now. Now, of course, this isn't final results, so it is subject to change. But we'll go ahead and mark him in green as kind of the leading candidate at this point. And I would say he's probably the more grassroots candidate, is a way to put it. 45, Bill Jack, not doing so well compared to Max Brooks. Bill Jack is the RMGO sponsored candidate down there. So definitely more of that grassroots kind of more conservative, I would probably have to speculate compared to Max Brooks. So we'll go ahead and mark him as in the red. House District 65. Of course, Trent Leasley, very interesting person there. Sorted past and all. Natalie says RTD bites, and RTD does bite. I imagine they are trying to take away our taxpayers' Bill of Rights refunds, pushing a ballot measure to do just that this November. So if you are a Denver Metro voter, really look at the ballot and understand that RTD is trying to take your tax money away from you. Let me go over here to State House.
In 65, is Trent the one that has been fighting with RMGO recently?
Yes, he is totally the RMGO PAC endorsed his opponent, and he's been fighting them on Twitter and spending a lot of money on Twitter ads. So it's got to scroll down here to the bottom here. Sorry, I know moving quick here down to the bottom. The scrolling, but we got to get.
I had heard rumors about, I saw Andy Bosnecker's name on there, and I had heard rumors about him being sick and him having a terminal illness. I didn't necessarily think he was going to run, so I just thought it was interesting because I saw his name again.
Oh, interesting. So Sander is beating Leasley heavily. I mean, it's not even close, looks like down there, which is interesting because Trent was one of those candidates really putting his name as the Trump candidate, as the ultra MAGA, wearing the sexiest man alive t-shirt with a picture of Donald Trump on it, getting made fun of left and right by other Republicans. So Lori Garcia Sander was the RMGO PAC endorsed candidate. Definitely seen her at some Weld County events there. So she looks like she has that one in the bag. We'll go ahead and mark her on the board and mark Trent in red here. Oops. Steve Vanderwerf. I know somebody was saying on the chat earlier that he's got better name recognition and potentially has a better chance to beat Mark Snyder, which is good. Snyder's absolutely terrible, really anti-gun candidate. Currently a House member running for Senate, so really need him to lose. So hopefully Vanderwerf can beat him, even though Adriana Kuva was the RMGO PAC endorsed candidate. Let's just double check Senate District 12 there and see. Just the updated on that race there.
I just heard a firework. FYI. We're getting into firework season, everybody.
Yeah, it looks like not too close at all. That she's getting her butt kicked. Oops, where'd it go? Too far. Steve Vanderwerf beating Adriana Kuva in Senate District 12. Let's go ahead and take a look at the map just to give people an idea of where this is at. So this is your Colorado Springs area there. So yeah, Vanderwerf is winning pretty handedly. And Teller County part has not reported at all. We'll have to see how many of those results come in. But in El Paso County, the results are there. So there's still a chance for that to change, but it looks like Vanderwerf is pretty strongly ahead. So we'll mark her in the red.
I noticed you had Lori Sane on that list too, and does look like she's losing in her
Oh, you wanna-
primary for Weld County at large.
what are the numbers looking like?
Perry
Yeah,
Buck has 19,000. Lori Sane has 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up because we're getting to that point. Because Lori's saying you have on the one side, which it looks like it's differentiated primarily based on the RMGO. Is that correct?
Part of it, it's harder to make the distinction, I think, on the left versus right. I put
Okay.
Perry Buck as a little bit more of the moderate candidate, and by that I mean maybe not as fiery as Lori Sane is, I guess is one way to put it.
Fair. That's very fair. Yeah, my understanding with why Perry Buck got the endorsement of RMGO over Lori Sane is that she had announced prior, and RMGO was already aware and had made that commitment they were going to do so. And Lori Sane was able to get the nomination at convention, and which kind of mixed things up. And so Lori Sane previously was running for District 3 in Weld County, which is the district that includes Keensburg. And then when she switched to at large, she nominated Lynette Kilpatrick Pepler, who I did endorse because both Lori Sane and Lynette Kilpatrick Pepler did sign the pledge that we had negotiated, that Hannah Goodman had negotiated with Dave Williams. So that was kind of the deal that I've been offering to pretty much any of the candidates. If they're willing to sign the pledge, I'm willing to give them my endorsement. And so it's interesting to see that Lori Sane is losing by such a margin, and Lynette Pepler is up 4,114 to 3,000. So it's still a fairly close race, but she's up by over 1,000 right now. So it's surprising to see for sure.
Wow. Yeah, looking at the general theme in the Republican Party primaries tonight for some of these RMGO races, they didn't do very well, really. Matt Burcham beating Laura Thomas is basically the outlier, and then it was much more of, and well, Lori Sander too, they did endorse. But in terms of some of these other races, didn't make too much of a difference, it looks like.
Maybe those super pro gun people need a new party. I don't know. Michael DiMana, who's the Republican running in HD2, he did. If he hasn't done it yet, he was planning on signing the pledge, the Liberty Pledge.
Oh, very nice. House District 2. Michael DiMana, 1,700 votes. That's a tough one. Woodrow's district, just look at that voter turnout difference. Woodrow got 9,200 votes in this primary, and DiMana got 1,700 votes, just to give you an idea of that breakdown. And of course, that's in the heart of South Central Denver, Southeastern Denver. Let's see here, looking at anybody can take a look, if you don't mind, at what's going on in Douglas County on that Commissioner District 3. Love to see where that one's at. That's a interesting race. Kevin Van Winkle was a great state senator, great state representative, definitely a leader on the Liberty scorecard, an RMGO candidate for sure. So hoping he's going to pull it out. Priscilla Ron's definitely been involved with the Republican Party for a while also. So I'm sure that might be a closer race, but I think Kevin Van Winkle probably has more name recognition.
He is currently at 19. Priscilla is behind him with 14.5, and John Carson is almost at 14 too. So looks like Van Winkle is pulling it out.
Awesome. Really good to hear. So very interesting. I mean, we could basically call all the congressional races. Jeff Crank beating Dave Williams, Lauren Boebert winning the Republican primary, Greg Lopez winning the vacancy election, and Trisha Calvarisi at the Democratic primary.
Christy Burton Brown is ahead in her primary for the state board, but only by like 4,000 votes. I'm kind of surprised. I would have assumed she would have handily won that.
Oh, interesting. Well, another big race we talked about earlier. Take a look and update on this State Board of Education District 2. So Marisol Rodriguez is the more pro-charter, at least supported by pro-charter people, with $800,000 spent to support her candidacy. versus Kathy Gebhardt with nearly $80,000 spent. So let's take a look at that one here. State Board of Education could definitely determine a lot for charter schools. So that's why this race is attracting so much money. But it looks like Gebhardt is pretty heavily winning that one by 10,000 votes. Wow. Wowza. So very interesting there. Go ahead and mark Gebhardt as the winner so far. So very interesting to see some of this money coming through. Let's just take a look at the Democratic primary as well. So it seemed the far left socialists having a rough night in Colorado politics for sure.
We love to see it.
See if there's an update here. It was updated here at 9:05, 2 minutes ago. So no changes there. Wow, Obi getting his butt kicked. Weissman pulling far ahead. Wow. Money not well spent for Keith there, with all the hundreds of thousands of dollars spent for Keith to see Weissman pulling ahead. So latest update here on Tim Hernandez's race. Let's take a look at the map. I mean, it's really only Denver County, so it's not like it's going to change too much there. Ballots cast 841,000. This is probably for the whole state here out of 3.8 million active voters. Well, maybe not the whole state. Wow. Oh, those might just be these races here. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure that pie chart is the entire state turnout so far.
Gotcha.
About 22%.
22%.
Do you have any? I don't know the Democrats running in the primary for CD5. Do you have any thoughts on them? Because there were like 300 votes separating each other.
I don't know, but I know it's a very strong district for Republicans. Let's take a look at the vote differential from last year. Let's look at Jeff Crank. This will pull it up here and see how strong of a seat this is for Colorado Republicans. Scrolling down, let's see if we can see previous. Let's see what happens to competitiveness. Let's see if it shows maybe what happened in 2022 there. Let's see. This is what I was looking for. So in 2022, 2 years ago, just to take a look at what happened, Doug Lamborn. So how safe of a Republican seat is Congressional District 5? Well, 2 years ago, Doug Lamborn won by 44,000 vote differential, 43,000 and change vote differential there.
Yeah, probably about the same as 4. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but both pretty solid Republican seats.
Definitely. So not too sure who the Democratic Party candidates are. I wonder if Ballotpedia has any information on them. Looks like River Gasson and Joe Reagan.
I absolutely read that quickly as Joe Rogan for a minute.
Same.
She's a research scientist. The climate and water conservation, challenging big oil, abortion is healthcare, supporting teachers, defending global democracy.
Yes.
committed to helping Ukraine in its
God.
struggle.
We got to get Jeff to sign the pledge.
Yes.
So there you go. That kind of tells you a lot of what you need to know for sure. And then Joe Reagan. Let's see this guy here. So he's the Democratic candidate. He was in the Army. Healthcare, Affordable Care Act, veterans, education, employment, homelessness, housing, environment, labor. So that's really what he's got there.
Sounds like a
He does
Democrat.
have yeah. So I'm sure they're both terrible. I'd have to think that this guy's a little less terrible, but I still hope that Jeff Crank ends up winning that one, I would say. If between the Democrat and Republican, of course.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, interesting stuff. What else? Any other news here? Let's check on our good friend Elizabeth Epps.
Yeah, didn't Polis and some Senate Democrat come out and endorse Sean over Elizabeth Epps too?
Yeah, a lot of legislative leaders in the Democratic Party endorsed Camacho and donated money to his campaign. But yeah, really interesting night. Interesting to see the repudiation of some of these hardcore socialists. But nonetheless, it's not great news, of course, because all these Democrats are still pretty bad. But hey, maybe they're reigning in their own party a little bit. We'll see how that plays out.
Well,
So
they have
Elizabeth
to
Epps gets
understand they
out.
can't. They're trying to bleed Coloradans dry, and eventually we run out. Like he's got to stop at some point. Like all those things you were mentioning with that river and other guys. It's all stuff that's messed up because the government put their hands on it with stupid regulations and things. The government can't fix it because the government messed it up in the first place. Drives me nuts.
I have two things I'd like to highlight. Did you already talk about Christy Burton Brown's race?
I just mentioned it a little bit of like, I was surprised she's not at a higher vote total.
I mean, she's winning right now. It's very close. It's 628 votes from what I'm seeing, but I find that encouraging to say the least. We don't agree with her on everything, but I think certainly on that issue, it's something that we can agree a lot on. I also just wanted to highlight looking at Weld County specifically, because again, this is the home of the Free State Project at this point, and there are, for pretty much any of the Democrats, that they don't even try at this point. There's no candidates that are running at all, so it really is just the Republican primary races, and we can get around that because we can then just run our own candidates in the general election against these people. So it's interesting to see that for most races in Weld County, it would be head to head if we wanted to do anything like that.
You make a reasonable argument there, Mr. Mayor. I will say I did not, unless no one approached us, but I did not actively seek a libertarian for the school board of ed race that Christy Burton Brown was in. Because she is very good on school choice, if not, beside from everything else.
Yeah, and she has the connections and funding already, obviously. And she was cool and came to some of the libertarian meets to talk about like Prop HH and stuff. So, there's some things we can find common ground on. I think Aaron's frozen.
I think so. Brandon and I debated a school board ed guy, I think in sixth, maybe.
I'll have to remember. I don't remember where he was from exactly. Just CU. I know he was a CU. I thought he was a CU regent or something. Maybe.
Yeah, CU. Oh yeah.
Oh, was that
right.
that TPUSA debate you guys, or was it TPUSA or who was it?
Yeah, TPUSA.
Was it filmed or televised or anything? Do you know? Or is there YouTube of it? Probably
They
not.
supposedly streamed it and recorded it, but I'm not sure where it is.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
That's cool. You guys got to do that.
It's because we embarrassed them so badly. They just destroyed all the evidence.
And then they canceled that other one too, because Rich Guggenheim was supposed to do one too with, I think, on gender issues or something, and that one got canceled. So I wonder if it's because you guys kicked butt too much.
We really just stuck on drugs was pretty much most of the topic that evening. I don't know why, but surprised.
Very true. Yeah, a lot of students at CSU, of course, were very interested in drug policy, and that's one of the things I think that the Libertarian Party or the Libertarian Liberty Movement in general can kind of differentiate themselves from conservatives. But of course, there's a lot of skepticism as well over liberalizing a lot of these drug laws because of some of the really bad situations that have come out of Portland and even downtown Denver, for that matter.
Yeah, there is unfortunately not a lot of protection for property rights along those. But I mean, fentanyl was really the thing, if I remember, Brandon, right? Like that was understandably what people are hooked on. But fentanyl is very highly regulated now. And a lot of stuff coming across the border is not hospital grade fentanyl that they're giving you, in surgery. So, I mean, I'm not saying, oh, then that is your excuse to legalize it all or decriminalize it all. But, there's a lot of this stuff is already heavily regulated and we still see major problems.
When they try to push those injection sites and stuff too, which then the government makes money off of like legalized drugs for some people, basically. And I'm like, that's
Didn't
not
the
good
Biden
either.
administration send people crack pipes, or wasn't that in some state where like you could show up and they would just like give you a crack pipe and a little baggie and stuff?
I think they still do in a lot of places. They have, because there's nonprofits that give it out and they get funding for it, where they give out, a little, I'm sure it's Portland and Seattle, like they give out a little kit and I don't know.
Yeah, safe injection sites. I mean, that's an idea that has failed multiple years in a row at the state legislature, and leading
it's
proponent
failed
of
when it's
Elizabeth Epps.
implemented. It's failed when it's
Yeah.
implemented too. It's made things worse because you're legalizing drugs. Basically, now you're taxpayer funded legally legalized drugs. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yep.
Fair point.
Your home can be a safe injection site if you are responsible. And then, I mean, you have some private cannabis clubs here in Colorado, those could always exist, but I don't know. This is the problem with sticking all these homeless people in all of these hotels. They're dangerous because everyone could be on drugs. And I talked to some kid who didn't want to be in there. He's like, do you want to be? He's like, you're either trapped in your room or like you don't want to go in. Do you want to try and get back to your room late at night, trapped between two meth heads on, the 5th or 6th floor with nowhere to go? It's a fair point.
Yeah, and the people who work there are just like, they're not like specialists of any sorts of, they're just someone working there.
We're taking a look at just Twitter here real quick, hashtag CO Politics. Of course, some people beating up on Elizabeth Epps, beating up on Dave Williams there. Somebody says Dems showing common sense Democrats is what voters want. Good lesson that Twitter isn't real life. Kyle Snark flipping out over here. Great photo. Colorado Community Media, voters in Colorado's District 4 selected Republican Lopez for Colorado to fill the remainder of Rep. Kinbuck's term. No surprise there. 9mm News going after these guys.
Yeah, what was Hannah's numbers at now? Like, do we know?
Oh, let's check. Let's see the most recent.
She is where?
Here's the congressional
5.2.
District 4.
She I think got 5 is at 5.6.
7,000 votes, 7,800 votes. So that's pretty fucking cool. Pretty fucking cool, man.
I think I just saw somewhere else. Oh no, never mind. I'm looking at a county map.
And shout out Frank. 3,000. I don't know how, but
yeah, that's almost surprising that Frank Atwood would get nearly 3,000 votes for the approval voting party. Talk about a single issue candidate.
He's like, I kind of respect him a little bit just because he is kind of like a troll candidate to some extent because he's just trying to get this message out, But he got 3,000 freaking votes. That's
somebody's asking in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, what is Frank Atwood's reasoning behind running as a party for a voting method versus having a PAC?
You'd have to ask him. I'm not entirely
Why
sure.
does he run as a candidate?
Instead of just running a PAC and trying to get the message out that we need a different voting method versus plurality voting or rank RC.
I mean, it would be best as a ballot measure, but that costs a lot more money than running for office. And just running for office, approval voting, then I guess you look up what that is, and then ideally, more people find out what that issue is.
And he has the time. Frank has the time for it.
He does.
Somebody in the chat on YouTube was asking, was Epps appointed or elected? And Elizabeth Epps was elected in 2022. House District 6 is a very solidly Democratic seat, as you can imagine. Looking at my map, it's southeastern Denver. Not even close. I mean, this is a safe Democratic seat as far as you can get, right? 85% versus 14% of the Republican. Republican guys didn't even have a picture on Ballotopedia, just to give you an idea. It wasn't worth the time to put a picture up on Ballotopedia. That's how strong of a seat this is for the Democrats. So definitely Elizabeth Epps was elected. So Sean Camacho, for better or for worse, probably for worse. Well, he's going to be a thorn in the side no matter what, I imagine. But he's probably going to be in the state legislature next January. So hopefully he's a little bit more not as bad, I guess. I can't say more on anything, but hopefully he's not as bad as Epps. But time will tell. Looking at CO Politics on Twitter, or X as it's called, Complete Colorado. Jeff Crank utterly dominates. Dave Williams. I know a lot of those guys are happy about that. At 8:30 p.m., Cecilia Espinoza is leading competitor Tim Hernandez. Some people there. Here's this person. If you ever run into them on
I
X,
have them blocked. They're awful.
Total far left socialists saying these carpetbag millions coming in to take out the Democrats. Well, it worked. Epps, Marvin, Hernandez losing out there. A lot of it outside funding for sure. Jesse Mallory's pretty excited here. 3 for 3 for AFP action. So I imagine it's Jeff Crank. I'm not sure who the other ones are, but we'll see. Maybe they'll say. Here's the crowd here for Reagan and Gasson. Looks like the Democratic crowd for CD5. As you can see, it's a packed house. There's about 5 people there. Rhonda Fields leading there for her commissioner seat. Not too surprising. She's got the name recognition. She's got the money. Of course, we got Alicio Gonzalez running against Rhonda Fields in November. A strong pro-liberty candidate running against a far left Rhonda Fields. So we'll see how that goes. Rick Enstrom says, I ran the straight CO Politics bingo card today. Both parties, what a day. See you around campus. Not entirely sure what that means, but Rick Enstrom's a good guy. Here's the Jeff Crank party. Hey, there's Ava.
Where is Ava?
Let's see the little video. This is from Rocky Mountain Voice. Let's see.
No sound for me.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it either.
So much money spent
So
on
there you
just
go.
the party. So much money spent on just that party. It's like it's so crazy to politics is nuts to me.
Jimmy Singenberger, as well as a lot of these other guys, totally with glee for Dave Williams losing.
So I'm sure Kyle Clark's all about it tonight.
Kyle Clark says that the Colorado GOP dropped neutrality rules to endorse in GOP primaries, has lost or is losing in 14 of those 18 races right now. Wow. Hey, Ethan used a screenshot from our live stream tonight. Thanks there, Ethan.
I was going to say that looked familiar.
Authoritarian Dem socialists endorsed communists are mostly getting crushed tonight by slightly less obnoxious moderate Democrats. That is a very fair way to put it.
I wonder if Kyle Clark went after Rainey in her race. I mean, she was uncontested, but I'm wondering if he went after her.
Here's Steven Verla. Just he's done. He knows he lost, so he's getting some bowling in. Better way to. I guess that's a better way to spend your night. Drew Sexton, campaign manager for Lauren Boebert. The numbers don't lie. She's a proven conservative. That's what people like about her.
And maybe some other things they like too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jessica, what do you think about somebody with the name Sexton being the campaign manager for Boebert?
Nice. I like it.
That's a riot.
There's all sorts of
Michael.
controversy about her before she kind of hit the main stage and stuff. It is interesting because everything seems so played out and, like chosen ahead of time, I guess. I don't know. Oh, she stole my look. I always wear black dress and cowboy boots. She stole my look, girl.
Where are those CD4 mountains is my question.
Yeah, because it's the plains, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
What is this post here? Is this a parody account here? Must be. It says, "Congrats, Adam, for Colorado." He was running unopposed, so much deserved, I guess. Colorado State Student Association. I'm happy that Jeff Hurd won there. Sonnenberg conceding. Yeah, no surprise there.
Oh God, Alan.
So there you go. Let's see, Colorado Working Families Party, so a far left socialist group. They're claiming some good victories for themselves. Of course, a lot of those people are running unopposed, so kind of ridiculous for them to claim victory. To say, here's Manny Rutnell, who didn't have an opponent and won. Well, he better have. He didn't have an opponent running against him. I mean, come on, people. But hey, it's marketing strategy, right?
One of their guys got mad at one of our commissioner candidates because his slogan is he's a candidate for working families, and they feel like it's too close to their party name and that they didn't endorse him, and that's false advertising. Can you imagine, Brandon, false advertising in politics?
Never happens.
Never
happened before.
I never falsely advertised, of course, in my political career. But I couldn't.
Fair point.
All there.
Hey, I'm just proud to say I won tonight. On to the general election.
Hell yeah, man.
That's funny.
There's already
So any other? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
There's memes about. I just shared some memes about Cerebral Prices making memes about Epps and Timmy.
I think that might be the one of the night. Seeing Epps and Timmy both go down. Likely
Hopefully
Timmy
no
going
assault
down.
weapon ban next year. So I mean, hopefully no one else picks that up.
Oh yeah. I wish more incumbents went down because they voted for the assault weapons ban on the Dem side, but thank God that thing didn't get past the committee this year.
Yeah, that assault weapons ban is kind of going to depend on the future of Colorado, who the next governor is, what the Democrats look like at that point. If I'm still convinced Polis wants a shot at president, and that's not a great thing to have on your record. He got out of even having to vote on it, which is even better.
Yes.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I'm going to go ahead and jump over back to these election results for people just joining us. So two of the biggest races tonight we're talking about is Timothy Mariano Hernandez and Cecilia Espinoza. Hernandez a little bit more Marxist, a little bit more left compared to Cecilia Espinoza, also far left, just not quite as far. So take that victory, I guess, if there is one there. I hate to be a downer there. I know everybody's excited to see some of these Democratic Socialists lose, but at the same time, these people are are not necessarily going to be much better, but it'll be interesting to see. What's interesting too, these vote results have not updated for a very long time. It's still just that 800 vote differential. So, there's a chance Hernandez could come in a lot closer. It's not trending that way, but it'll be very interesting to see if that does happen. Camacho versus Epps, though, I think is a little bit more in the bag. 100%, it's over 3,000 vote differential there. And she doesn't have a chance. And, she didn't spend a lot of campaign money. She didn't put as much effort into it. I think she had the writing on the wall. She knew it was going to happen. But Hernandez, we'll see. I mean, I think that one, nope, just updated. Let's scroll back up here. When it updates, it drops it down to the bottom. Not that race updated, which it did not, but one of the other ones must have.
I'm sure we'll see her crying.
Definitely. Just scroll down here for people to see while we're talking here, but yeah, very interesting night. I don't know if there's too many surprises, but Jessica, is there any surprises that you saw?
I think Hernandez a little bit, because I just feel like Hernandez and Epps are like supported by something. I don't know, but so it's a good surprise for me. And then maybe Jay Williams a little bit losing, but I wasn't sure. I don't follow him that much, so. But yeah, I'm so happy Epps and Hernandez especially are out. Like I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Although they could probably get placed again if there's another vacancy, couldn't they? I don't know what the rules are, but
Yeah, they're not term limited, so they could potentially get another vacancy committee appointment. That's a real possibility. What about the strategy, though, of wanting the most extreme? I mean, I guess it's a safe Democratic seat, so there's no chance of a Republican beating them. But for example, Democratic super PACs bet money supporting Ron Hanks because he's the more extreme, more fringe candidate. So they thought there was an opportunity that he'd be easier to beat in the general election. Should Republicans think that way in swing districts to say, hey, maybe we want the more extreme, more out of control Democrat to be the candidate because it's going to be easier to beat them? We don't, that's one thought.
That's like playing politics, baby. You got to do stuff like that and look at that stuff for the numbers, especially as long as voting is legit. So, yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that Hanks was actually endorsed by the Colorado GOP, yet he's the one that lost. And that happened in a few different states, in a few different districts, including Dave Williams himself.
Janet Joshi and
Joshi was at that debate too and debated against Evans, and he was a nice. I liked him. Him and his wife were so sweet. I talked to his wife for a while. They're so sweet.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm not surprised he lost to Gabe Evans, but
Yeah, he was cool.
Absolutely, he was a great guy.
What do you think Hanks and his people are going to do now that he's lost? Do you think they'll all tighten up for CD3 to make sure Frisch doesn't win that district?
I hope so. I hope that the Republicans come together to make sure Adam Frisch does not win in CD3 because that's such a key seat for national politics. Not that all the Republicans are great. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of problem with a lot of these congressional Republicans, but at the same time, having the Democrats have a majority in the House, in the Senate, and potentially the presidency would be an utter disaster for this country, for Colorado. I would think having a split legislature between the Senate and the House, I think is huge. That separation of powers, that competitiveness, I think is really important.
Well, neither Gabe Evans or Jeff Hurd have signed the Colorado Liberty Pledge by the LP, so I don't think those candidates will be dropping out for November unless they're willing to play ball.
Yeah, I really hope they are. I hope that Gabe Evans and Jeff Hurd both reach out to the Libertarian Party of Colorado. Here's Jacob Luria, the campaigns director. People, if you're watching, connect them up. And hopefully they reach out and try and, sign the pledge or make a deal with the Libertarian Party to avoid a challenger because these races are going to be the two tightest in the state, right? I mean, that's what it's going to come down to.
I do think it's also interesting that CD3 both had pledge signers and the pledge signer lost.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. I mean, somebody made that comment earlier on YouTube on the chat was saying, hey, listen, the person who signed the Libertarian Party pledge, they lost. What does that say about the pledge? I don't think it says anything about the pledge specifically. It's the candidates who signed it were maybe a little bit challenged in terms of their opponents. They were, so that they signed the pledge thinking it would help them, but didn't make too much of a difference. So the pledge is really about the general election, not really about primaries. Weissman still got a big lead there. Somebody says, I wonder if, go ahead.
Well, one question I've got is, what is the future of Dave Williams? I mean, he lost big time in CD5, and he's got a lot of people coming for his job now. I mean, I think if he would have won in CD5 tonight, it could have definitely gave him some cushion. But he no longer has that option, and there's a lot of people gunning for him now. It kind of feels like he's in a little bit of a corner at this point. So what does that mean? Are the people gonna vote him out? Are people gonna? There's been quite a few different individuals and counties who have called for his head. So proverbially
and literally.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
a fight for the chair position. He'll be out, in my opinion.
Do you think he'll finish his term out, or do you think he's gone?
I think I'll finish it. Well, it depends on how much so many Republicans hate him right now. So I don't know like how egotistical and stuff he is, because they're all like, we hate Dave and all. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. Depends on if he gets embarrassed or not, I suppose. But
I don't think Dave will not leave on his own accord. If they call it a special election or whatever and get him out, that's a real possibility. But he's not going to quit on his own accord. I can almost guarantee that. I think he'll stay and he'll fight. Hopefully, he can turn this around. My advice is that he tries to unify the party. Admit his mistakes maybe, and come out and say, "Hey, listen, now we're in it to win it for November. Let's do what we can, and we're going to double down and no more distractions with the primary." And he could step up to the plate. I mean, that's what he needs to do. And I think if he is compelling enough to do that, has a compelling message, and I think there's a real opportunity there for him. Otherwise, they're gonna. If he comes out, it depends how he reacts to tonight. I think if he comes out tomorrow and says blames it on George Soros or some ridiculousness or something like that, then then he's pretty much done, I would think. But if he comes out and says, "Hey, I was wrong. I made some mistakes, but now it's a new. Now it's all about November, and let's see what we can do. And I'm going to do everything in my power to help make sure our Republican candidates win." Then I think he's got a good chance and a compelling way to do it. He could bring all those grassroots, more right-leaning, more conservative types of Republicans to the party and turn them into the base of volunteers and activists that these candidates need. They need volunteers, they need donors. If Dave is able to do that and turn all those people over and really establish that unity on that Republican side, I think there's a good opportunity there.
Yeah, he needs a lot of the he needs to like unite the young activists, because I always hear from people, even older people, they'll go to the GOP thing and be like, it was all just these old people and blah, blah, blah. And like, I mean, I know that's just kind of how it goes, who shows up and stuff, but there's so many great activists on the GOP side that we're all friends with now, we're all working with. So it's like, if he could focus on that, like we are focusing on working on it together, then maybe, who knows?
I might miss this, but I wanted to ask, is it that same Dave Williams that's listed in HD 13?
No, there's a different Dave Williams. And there's a news article about it too, because people were confusing the two and sending him nasty messages and stuff. And he's like, "Hey, that's not me." Now, I got to say, I just want to pause it right here. House District 43, of course, is the most competitive district in the state. I got my whiteboard behind me. One of the most. House District 50, for Republicans to flip some state House seats, they need to win House District 50, which is Ryan Gonzalez, who is running unopposed tonight, who does not have a Libertarian Party challenger, who reached out to the Libertarian Party and had that outreach, had that connection to make sure he didn't have an opponent, promised to support pro-liberty legislation. That is the most winnable district in the state. Ryan Gonzalez lost by 330 votes 2 years ago. He can pick that up and win this year. That's one seat for the Republicans. The next one is House District 43. We're looking at here on the screen. House District 43 is Bob Marshall. He won by 405 votes 2 years ago. 405 votes. So if Matt Burcham, who's the presumed candidate here, can gain an additional 400 votes over what happened 2 years ago, then that he could flip that seat. So that's going to be one of the most hard fought seats in the state legislature this year is House District 43. So that's why this race was so important for Matt Burcham and Laura Thomas. So we'll see. I have met Matt Burcham. I don't know too much about him, but we'll see. We'll see if he can beat Bob Marshall come November. That's going to be a key race.
I assume Matt's more down to earth and less politician-y than Laura, because she's kind of, taken that path to be a career politician.
Yeah, I would say so. I think he's more of a normal guy compared to less politician-wise.
Yeah, that's Highlands Ranch and stuff. Okay.
Hey, one thing I want to bring up real quick about Bob Marshall is if you look up Bob Marshall in a waving a Confederate flag and wearing a MAGA hat, you can find that he was doing that in 2020. Just go ahead and look that up. It's on YouTube.
Oh, that's who the Y'all boys were trolling, not the other guy. It was Bob Marshall and the Y'all boys were trolling, which was great.
Yeah, they went, the Young Americans for Liberty guys went down to his district and door knocked and went door to door during the gun control debate to try and pressure him, put some grassroots pressure on his constituents to challenge Bob Marshall for supporting anti-gun legislation. So interesting to see that. Yeah, handed win by George Brockler there. I mean, not even close.
That's misogyny. No, just kidding.
House District 12, it was good to see Mark Millman win.
Yeah,
did he
Mark's
win? Did he win?
Yeah.
I text him.
So House District 12, Mark Milliman there. Let's scroll down to that.
Mark's a cool Republican.
Yeah, I've met him before. Definitely
He was in my groups like way early on in 2020, basically. And we went to the rally at that Lions restaurant that they shut down. I don't know if you guys remember that. We were there. I mean, I've known Mark for a long time now through Twitter.
Yeah,
That's
Mark,
awesome.
good guy. Unfortunately, House District 12 is a very strong. It's Boulder. I mean, it's like city of Boulder all the way. So good to see him on the ballot, make it through the primary, but that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But at least he's willing to, try, And he's done it for a while too. He hasn't gotten burned out and rage quitted, which would sound like good because we need good people to like not rage quit.
I mean,
Good
the
point.
more rage quit, the more blackpilling that happens. So, I mean, we need to stick with it and just persevere, and we will turn this thing around just like they turned Colorado blue 20 years ago. I mean, there's still a lot of people here that remember what it was like back then, and they still have those that same worldview. So let's
And they
stick
pushed
with
too
it.
far. These
Yeah, they
conferences
did.
pushed too far. Or
And
even
you
like
can see,
millennials,
ahead.
like leftist millennials are like, wait a minute, what? Like, because they have families now and they're like, what are they doing to my kids at the school? Like they push too far. So
look at the school attendance in Jeffco schools 20 years ago versus now. It's 93,000 versus 60,000.
yeah.
That's a huge problem for Jeffco schools, and they're closing schools left and right, and it's because of how far they've pushed. I know so many friends that are going to homeschool, including me and my wife next year. So
Yeah, homeschool is winning. Alternative schools are winning in Jefferson County, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I mean, the big teachers union candidates won. I mean, Jeffco County just voted for everything bad it possibly could last year. And if eventually that costs them the schools, then I don't know what to tell you.
They don't have enough
Absolutely.
money now, though, so they're going to de-tabor Jeffco so that they can get more money for schools and everything.
They're going to try.
I really hope that we can push what happened with Ian Silveri and Bighorn over the next few months, because that needs to get shoved right in Brittany
I
Peterson's
recorded
face.
his presentation was was either this past week or last week. I recorded it all, and they got $340,000 to just sit there and talk about how stupid voters are, basically, and like present 4 ideas for the county to get more money. $340,000 for these stupid, like, nincompoop dudes to like. It's so frustrating. And he's the husband of a sitting like rep. Like,
Oh, and don't worry. I mean, Pedersen also supports the money laundering schemes of Ukraine and Israel. So I mean, you're absolutely seeing the corruption go all the way through in that family.
and their
Government is one big money laundering scheme. Politics, especially.
and Brittany and Ian, that's all they did in life, basically, was just that, and like the dirty side of politics too, the like, the policy side, and the just like trying to make money off of it's wild. And they're landlords. So if the commies they're landlords, they own property. So if they like say they're commies and want good housing, they're landlords themselves. So people can break that out.
Anybody is in Jefferson County, check out freestatecolorado.com and look at this Natalie Menton video and presentation I did with her back in February of this year. Natalie did an incredible job exposing this to Sean Boyd of CBS 4. Great articles here. I have links to it all right here. But people really got to get in there and see what's going on in Jefferson County here. There's so much corruption in terms of them trying to use taxpayer dollars to fund this attack on the taxpayers' Bill of Rights and try and raise taxes. It's absolutely shocking, and people need to be aware of it. So definitely did this hour-long video with Natalie where she goes through her expose, how she found this information out. And I thought this chart was extremely illustrative. So Brittany Pedersen is our current Congressional District 7 Congresswoman in Jefferson County there. She is a former state house. She worked for New Era Colorado, which we talked about earlier. They were at the center of this blueprint model to take Colorado for the Democrats. She got married to Ian Silveri, who is the head of Progress Now, Denver Post writer. I mean, this guy's also part of the whole blueprint model with Progress Now. They got married. Brittany served in the state legislature with Tracy Kraft Tharp and Andy Kerr, who became Jefferson County commissioners, who are currently Jefferson County commissioners. Ian Silveri helped elect these people, not only in their state legislative race, but also in their county commissioner race. Brittany Pedersen and Ian Silveri worked with these people who are now Jefferson County commissioners. They hired Ian Silveri's firm for $340,000, got that money over to Ian. So basically, this whole roundabout way, this is how politics works, people. This is the reality of how politics works. You have politically connected people giving money to other politically connected people, helping them further their career, and then they get rewarded once they're elected. So this is kind of a good expose. So check that out at Free State Colorado on YouTube or on the website there.
Yeah, and I bet Natalie probably put it up the actual presentation, what the $340,000 paid for basically was this past week, and it was like, these people are so ingrained in it. They're so like they say these things like it's nothing. Like they're just, we just got to get more money for out of these people, and services. Drives me nuts.
Definitely. And I also recommend people 2 years ago, for the 2022 election, I did a deep dive. So I wrote this long article and analysis of the state house legislative races to try and really see what the most competitive were. So House District 50, which is Greeley, that's Ryan Gonzalez. House District 61, that's Lisa Hamrick. And to the great failing of the Colorado Republican Party, they do not have a Republican challenger as of right now. I don't know if there's a way to get somebody in there, but apparently there might be.
We should have, I'm pretty sure, have a libertarian in that race. I need to get with the Secretary of State. It may have just been some paperwork, paperwork was filed, but there may have been other stuff that wasn't done. But initially we did, we nominated Joe Johnson, and then, we at least, if nothing else, have that spot we could fill with somebody else.
Nice. I think that'd be great. We really need to have a libertarian run in House District 61. That's one of the most winnable races. Elisa Hamrick won by 1,100 votes 2 years ago. So it's a very winnable seat, relatively speaking, compared to all the other 65 seats in the House. House District 25 in Jefferson County there. That's Tammy Story. We got joined by George Muma earlier, who's the Republican nominee running against Tammy Story. I think Tammy Story made a lot of mistakes, not only for supporting extreme left legislation, but she also hitched her wagon to Tim Hernandez, endorsing him. I mean, there's the proof is in the pudding there. Her public endorsements of Tim Hernandez, who's getting totally repudiated. So hopefully the smart Republicans will use that against Tammy Story and help defeat her in House District 25. House District 43 is the Bob Marshall seat, and then House District 16, Steph V. Hill down in Colorado Springs. So these are the 5 most winnable seats for Republicans. So check this out on freestatecolorado.com. You can read this article from a while back. But I go through all the campaign spending, show how much money was spent, what the vote differentials were, if they had a libertarian opponent. All of that kind of stuff is in here. But at the very bottom, I have an entire breakdown of all 65 state House seats from 2022. So if people really want to get an idea of the makeup of the state legislature, looking at the top, this is the Republican vote differential from 2022. So House District 20, 63 and 51 were totally unopposed. No Democrat challenged them because, I mean, come on, look how handedly those people are potentially winning by. But even House District 56, I mean, Republicans won that by 24,000 votes. I mean, what are the chances that let me just try and zoom in a little bit. I don't know if it's going to let me here. But what are the chances that a Democrat's going to pick that seat up, right? So moving down, you can see where the Republicans lost just barely. So House District 50, 330 votes, 43, 405 votes. House District 16, 710 votes. There's Tammy Story at 25, 719 votes. 61, and then 19 up here. That's Dan Woog, who did a video for the Libertarian Party as well. Wasn't very well received, but nonetheless, he's one of the most winnable races out there in House District 19 with 1,467 votes. But I did this so people can really see where the opportunities are, for turning this ship around a little bit. Obviously, we're all libertarians on this call. We hope the Libertarian Party can kind of fill the void of the failings of the Republican Party, but at least in these districts, I think the Republicans have an incredible opportunity to flip those seats, and that's where they should be focusing their time. And if they can flip 5 to 6 seats this year and gain some advantage over what they have now, I think that'd be very compelling.
Well, I know some of those races, the Republican candidates who ended up either being the only one in the primary or winning the primary, like 50, 16, 20. George didn't sign it in 25, but we have other deals we're making with Nancy here in Jeffco. So, although I will also say George came to speak to us, I don't think he'll gain a lot of libertarian support because he's very pro qualified immunity, but also he's in a very tight race. So
that was a good discussion we had with him.
Gotcha.
That was a good discussion that night we had with him. It was a good discussion,
Cops make a lot more sense understanding there's not really a union, that it's a police fraternity. That makes way more sense of why it's a lot more tight-knit.
Here's the current map in 2023, same as it is now, of red versus blue counties. So just kind of breaking it down for people, or not counties, but House districts, excuse me. So the state House map as of 2023. So red obviously are being held by Republicans, blue by Democrats. So very interesting to see kind of that breakdown.
When you don't understand the populations, it looks way more even than it actually is.
I had this argument with libertarians. They were like, your legislature's blue, you're a blue state. And I was like, you don't understand anything about Colorado.
Yep.
Let's just take another look at some of these election results here, see if there's any changes here.
I think these are the same, at least in that race, it's the same numbers. Ooh.
Wow. What a vote differential there in CD5. Should I make this a little bigger? It's a little small.
Okay.
Yeah, Gabe, not even close.
You know,
Hopefully
I
Gabe
guess
reached, go ahead.
I was going to say probably. I keep being like, well, Republican voters, probably enough of them don't pay attention that they would vote for Dave Williams. But I guess, especially looking at the turnout, probably it's mainly only the really politically active people who came out, and all of those people would know what's going on with Dave Williams.
That's very fair. I mean, that's primary elections in a nutshell. It's usually the most active, the people who are paying the most attention, which is why it's only 20% of the electorate. The majority of people just don't turn their ballot in necessarily.
My wife didn't. I mean, she technically is still a registered Democrat. I think she's unregistering for unaffiliated. But out of all the Democratic races outside of president, there was only one race, which was the school board of ed. And she was like, I don't know nearly anything about this. I'm not going to vote in it.
Gotcha. Just updated, so that's why I jumped down there. But yeah, Espinosa still, I mean, that vote total has not changed at all in House District 4, Colorado House District 4. So it'll be interesting to see if Denver does release their ballots in big batches. So I know it takes a little while. Camacho, yeah, I mean, these numbers are still look like the same for a lot of these districts. So very interesting. Very interesting. I think we're gonna call it here soon. If everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do a quick update here on Twitter, on X with hashtag CO Politics. See if there's any new stuff popping up that's interesting. There's Jeff Hurd thanking everybody for his win tonight.
I wonder how him and Boebert are going to get along, because I assuming, I guess, Hurd wins, Boebert's probably a lot more safe. And I wonder how she'll get along with Crank.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get along just fine, really. People are beating up on Tim Hernandez here. Tim Hernandez said organized people beat organized money. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
They
Honestly, I have this issue too. You know, those of us who are very either involved or pay attention, there is a bubble a lot of people do live in, and there are a lot of people who just pay attention at the end, or just see the bad press, or maybe the moderate Democrats are stepping up here a little bit. I don't really know, but you know, that is an issue with libertarians as well as very liberty-minded Republicans, and certainly progressives and communists too, is they overestimate themselves. Cenk Uygur is certainly a great example of that, you know, but it's always, well, if we just did this, or we just convinced people of this, people would vote for us, but not necessarily.
Yeah, fair point. I think money tells most of the story there. I mean, when you look at the spending, you know, millions of dollars spent for these more quote unquote moderate candidates, relatively speaking, compared to the socialist candidates, it's not even close in terms of the money spent. So the moderate Dems, or the pro-business, whatever you want to call them, they definitely showed up in force. For sure.
I think in a lot of ways this is a good day for Colorado because of what happened with the progressive left and all of the L's they took, particularly the DSA. I think they won only one race.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to here we got Yara. Yara is really the strong socialist candidate. That was the Yara. If we remember, let's go ahead and look at that slide from earlier. Yara was endorsed by Our Revolution. There she is in that corner there, House District 52. So she's definitely that Bernie Sanders type. They spent money. Colorado Labor Action spent money supporting Hernandez, Lindstrom, Weissman, and Marvin. Only really getting two of those people to make it through. Let me blow this up a little bit here. So this is just looking at campaign finance reporting again. Colorado Labor Action spent nearly $500,000, or at least $500,000 as of yesterday, for Hernandez, Lindstrom, and Marvin, which all lost, but Yara, Weissman did make it through. And that's the teachers union. Colorado Education Association spent $300,000 supporting those candidates. So interesting to see some of the teachers union candidates lose. That's a good sign if you ask me. Here's that one Main Street. This is the more moderate or more traditional establishment. Democratic Party spending nearly $700,000. The trade association labor unions supporting Sean Camacho, who won over Elizabeth Epps, Cecilia Espinoza beating Tim Hernandez, Julie Mullica, Rhonda Fields, Jackie Phillips, and Michael Carter. So very interesting
Brandon?
there. Yeah.
Is Julie Mullica related to Kyle Mullica?
I don't know. I would assume so. Let's see if she was her she's on Ballot PDF. It says anything there. Huh. There's Kyle Mullica comes up, of course. So let's see. Google her. So Adams County Commissioner, it very well could be. Let's take a look at her campaign here.
Think about that teachers union money that could be in the teachers' pockets instead of going to the teachers unions and campaigns.
I
There's
feel like
Mike
I've
Weisman,
met her or
Phil
seen
Weiser,
her.
excuse me. Let's see. Rhonda
Maybe I
Field,
know.
Shannon Bird, Faith the Winner, Janae Wilford, Buckner.
Cheers, Faith.
Wow, a lot of supporters.
Yeah.
A lot of unions. It'd be very interesting to see. I don't know about her race though. We haven't really looked at Adams County Commissioner races.
Yeah, Alicio in the Libertarian Party is the only one running against Rhonda Fields in her county commissioner race. So it would be Alicio Gonzalez. You can look him up on Google. Please donate to him. Please help him out. He could use door knockers, some more money. It is possible for him to win that race. He is going to really get out there with the Hispanic vote and see what he can do there. Still going to be tough, but
Let's see if they show.
pretty sure Rhonda
They show
Fields
the-
won that, if I remember. I mean, she was pretty ahead earlier.
I don't know if Mullica's on this. If they show county races on this.
No, you need to go. There's a county tab at the top. Okay.
Let's see here. Let's see here. This is the Adams County website. Let's check the PDF. Maybe they got it here. State rep. There we go. Adams County Commissioner. Mullica is beating Valerie V. Hill tremendously there. So I don't know much about Julie Mullica except that she was supported by establishment Democrats and also supported by this One Main Street PAC, One Main Street IEC, which supported these other candidates here, as you can see, like Rhonda Fields, Jackie Phillips, Michael Carter. So they had a good night. One Main Street, Colorado, $700,000. Had a very good night tonight. A lot of People for Change is their other group, very closely associated with them. They're spending almost $500,000 of that One Main Street, Colorado money, as well as getting it from Colorado Democracy Action Fund, the Colorado Construction Industry Coalition, and they had a very good night as well. Jackie Phillips, Michael Carter, Rebecca Stewart. Their ethne lost. Julie Mullica won. Rhonda Fields won. Espinoza, Judy Doherty. I don't know about Leslie Smith, who that is exactly, but definitely they had a really good turnout tonight. I mean, with $840,000 in campaign financing money spent, they definitely had a really good night.
That's interesting. The construction association supports them, so that means they'll give them government contracts, would be my guess, for building our boxes to live in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, the high density housing, right? That's where it's going to come from. I'll let Colorado Vote Action with Kent Theory's group here, also supporting a lot of these moderate candidates who ended up winning. Espinoza, Camacho, Stewart, Carter, Brooks.
Kirkmeyer too, so it was bipartisan.
Yeah, he supported multiple Republican candidates, which looks like they all won. Idris Keith losing to Weissman there. So Yeah.
If I remember correctly, Frizzell is one of the Republican supporters, along with Kirkmeyer of 233, right?
Oh yeah. Lisa Frizzell was a prime sponsor of the property tax bill this year, 233. Not a great bill. So very interesting night. We'll see what happens as we get closer to November, but I appreciate everybody joining us. I definitely had a lot of fun. I really appreciate all the guests who popped in as well.
Thank
So
you
that
for
was
having
awesome.
me, Brandon. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you.
I like you
Yeah,
guys.
You guys are pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica, thank you so much with your live stream and getting this out there to people. It was definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got a few more eyeballs on you. You gotta get you a Rumble now. Really start making you one.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
should,
a good
yeah.
idea.
So, all right, everybody. Appreciate
Cool.
it.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Bye.
Have a good night. Take care.
Bye,
and we'll see you
guys.
next time.
Bye.